Chapter 412. Shortly after the malicious business competition incident, the carnival opened again, which was unprecedented. Some of the patient's family members even went to the store in person, trying to find out who the mysterious store manager was by indirectly asking the staff for information. The things in the store were solved, but there were still many things waiting for Su Yiyan to deal with in Dongqing City. Luo Weibing persisted to the last day of the contract period in the original agency. Under the dissatisfied and angry eyes of his agent, he completely terminated the contract with the original agency. When I left, Chang Pu's face was very ugly, as if he was going to eat me alive. I'm worried that he will make trouble in the next few days. Luo Weibing's mood was complicated for his agent. When he was in the most difficult time, it was this man who found him, brought him into this strange circle, and gave him a meal. But it was also this man who almost pushed him to the point of no return. He owed him a favor, but he had been working for him all these years, and the benefits he brought to him were enough to repay the original kindness. It doesn't matter. It's okay for you to part on good terms. If he dares to hurt you, our Dongqing City is not easy to mess with. Su Yiyan didn't have a good impression of Luo Weibing's former agency, especially his former agent. If they really dared to mess with the people of Dongqing City, she would not be surnamed Su if she didn't bite off a piece of meat. How is Chi-Chi these days? Luo Weibing's sister's full name was Xue Siki. Su Yiyan began to treat her a week ago. Because her situation was a bit serious, it was an emergency. She needed to take some medicine for a while, and then eat a medicated diet to recuperate. Simple Chinese medicine was not the same as medicated diet. It was bitter and fishy. Adults might not be willing to drink it, let alone children. But the little girl was unexpectedly well behaved. Whether she was pricked or drank the medicine, she didn't cry once, and even comforted her brother. She was also very kind to the little sister who pricked her and made her drink the bitter medicine. She would softly call her sister Su Yiyan and say thank you to her. She was so sensible that it made people's heart ache. Who didn't like a lovely baby? Su Yiyan was no exception. They had only met a few times, but she had already fallen in love with this little sister. At the mention of his sister, Luo Weibing's face softened a lot. He smiled and said, "She's much better now. She's much more energetic these days. I don't know if she's short of breath or short of breath. When I went to see her yesterday, she looked much better and could eat by herself." That's good. However, he still has to continue taking the medicine for a while. Children are weak and need more nourishment. Luo Weibing hurriedly nodded, "I will keep an eye on her." Su Yiyan knew that Luo Weibing cared about his sister more than anyone else, so he didn't say anything more and pushed a document in front of him. The company accepted a new advertisement for you. Game? Luo Weibing glanced at the first party and was surprised. Although there was no lack of artists in the industry who endorsed games, compared to this, most artists obviously preferred to endorse electronic products or luxury products like jewelry. Luo Weibing's first reaction when he saw this endorsement contract was that the big boss signed him into the company and started to do it. But the next second, Su Yiyan's words completely put his guess out of the window. Yes, game endorsement, the first spokesperson of holographic games since ancient times. It should be worthy of your current position, right? Chapter 413. Holographic game? Luo Weibing's eyes shrank slightly. He was a little confused by this news. Su Yiyan saw his reaction and thought that he did not play games and did not know much about these things. She explained, "To put it simply, you only need a gaming capsule or even a gaming helmet to put you in the game scene as if you have really become a game character. In addition to not getting hurt or dying, it's like trying a second life that is completely different from reality." Luo Weibing was stunned and hurriedly said, "I know what a holographic game is, I just surprised that this kind of thing that only existed in people's imagination before can become a reality?" A little bit. Then this advertisement, I'm willing to take it. Su Yiyan was not surprised by this answer. That's good. By the way, you have a partner in this advertisement. Partner? Xue Kai Wei. Luo Weibing was stunned and felt a little guilty after he reacted. A few minutes ago, he suspected that Shui Kaiwei signed him into the company and revealed the face of a capitalist. She would start to harm him for money. As a result, not only did Shui Kaiwei not do this, but she also gave him a good resource. She even lent her own movie queen to help him fight the first battle after transferring to the company. In the final analysis, he gauged Shui Kaiwei's heart with his own mean measure. Shui Kaiwei has been accepted. Considering that I'm not sure if you two have any unpleasant history before, I came to confirm it with you first. Can you accept to take this advertisement and partner with her? Su Yiyan didn't have the habit of forcing others. Such a good resource was given to anyone. If the two couldn't get along with each other and made a lot of things during the shooting and even after, wouldn't she, as the boss, have a hard time? With such a considerate boss, Luo Weibing finally settled down and nodded. I cooperated with her once before, but I didn't have much contact with her and we didn't have any conflicts. Then it's settled. Su Yiyan said and seemed to think of something. In addition, the company is going to invest in a Xianxia movie based on the background story of this holographic game. When I think about it, I'll just let you two play it. Do you have any intention? It had only been an advertisement and the movie had already been scheduled. His new boss was really swift and decisive. If it were an ordinary person who had just changed companies, it would be the time to express their loyalty to their boss. If they were given resources right away, they would definitely be grateful, not to mention rejecting them. But Luo Weibing wasn't sure what kind of movie it was and whether the script was good or not. He didn't dare to promise casually. Secondly, he was still worried about his sister. Su Yiyan saw his hesitation and comforted him. It's okay. This is just a proposal. The specific script still needs to be perfected. It won't be too late for you to decide after you read the script. Dongcheng City had several IP plans recently, and this holographic game background adaptation was just one of them. If Luo Weibing is really unwilling to take this script, it will be the same to change something else. She is a wise and democratic boss. Previously, when the medicinal cuisine house was slandered by the Internet Water Army, apart from Huo Chenhuan and a few other companies' technical staff, a large portion of the audience in her live streaming room was also contributed the most. Most of them were girls. For this reason, Su Yiyan decided to do a special live broadcast to thank the audience for their enthusiastic protection. Chapter 414. The female viewers in Su Yiyan's live stream went crazy with joy. Am I hallucinating because I'm too tired these days? The streamer is actually going to make a special medicinal cuisine for our female compatriots. Sob sob sob, I've been waiting for this day for so long. After the bald man's party, my aunt's party will finally see the light of day again? I'm so moved that I'm crying. The girls excitedly ran around to spread the news, but the male viewers were full of resentment. Don't be so sexist. This time, the streamer's shop was scolded, and we also helped the streamer fight against those trash water army. You can't ignore us just because we're few in number. That's right, the streamer shouldn't only look at those delicate girls. The toe-picking hunks also need to be pampered. I feel the malice the streamer has towards the male viewers. I beg the streamer to love our male compatriots again. Before Su Yiyan started the live stream, she knew that some people might be dissatisfied after the content was released, so she didn't panic. Of course, I'm not ignoring you guys. It's just that there are more female compatriots, so I'll take care of them first. When there's a chance next time, I'll make another batch of medicinal cuisine related to male compatriots. After Su Yiyan said that, the male viewers who were screaming miserably on the screen finally quieted down and focused on watching the live stream. The female viewers were more concerned about whether Su Yiyan's live stream today would involve menstrual pain. After all, many of the female viewers in Su Yiyan's live stream were attracted by the two female bloggers in the first place. There are actually many reasons for menstrual pain. I've already made a few medicinal cuisines that have a certain effect on menstrual pain. These medicinal cuisines are sold in physical stores now. Today, I'll make a few different ones. In addition, I'll make a few medicinal cuisines that nourish blood and nourish skin, help with weight loss and sleep, slimming face and removing acne, and, breast enlargement and so on. Su Yiyan's face was slightly red, and she paused before continuing. Friends who are interested can take a look. After a while, I'll draw a prize according to the old rules. Those who don't draw a prize can also go to the physical store to eat. As soon as Su Yiyan said that, the comments in the live stream suddenly went blank for a few seconds, and then a blowout of comments erupted. F***ck, the host's medicinal cuisine can not only cure menstrual cramps but also help with weight loss? This is too exaggerated. Oh my god, is there finally hope for a fatty like me, who can become as fat as a balloon just by drinking water and nutrient solutions? I suspect that the host is revealing my private life. The secret of my airport can't be hidden anymore? There's actually a medicinal cuisine that can slimmer one's face. Pancake Face really can't afford to be hurt. He's not fat anywhere else, but when the weather turns cold, he'll have a fat face if he drinks more nutrient fluids. As a pimple sufferer who gets pimple whenever the weather is dry or if he stays up late, he really needs this. The suffering insomnia party is asking for help. Every night, they would be especially energetic and would be forced to stay up until the latter half of the night. Their dark circles and eye bags would almost reach their chins, and their skin would become yellow and rough. If this goes on, I feel like I might die at any time. What Su Yiyan had just said was extremely accurate, and it poked at the endless troubles of these young people. Seeing so many comments, Su Yiyan knew that she had chosen the right thing to do today. She took a deep breath and smiled faintly. Whether it's really effective or not, you'll only know after you try it. Alright, let's not talk nonsense. Let's start today's live stream. Chapter 4:15. The discussion on the screen continued to pass by, but Su Yiyan had already focused on the medicinal cuisine she was going to make today. Today, I'll make a few soups, a few porridge, a few stir-fried dishes, and desserts and juice. As soon as Su Yiyan's voice fell, many viewers in the live broadcast room couldn't help but swallow their saliva, as if they could already imagine how delicious these things would be when they were made. The soup will take a long time. Let's make the soup first. The first dish Su Yiyan made was fragrant tofu loach soup. Tofu could not only detoxify, but also moisturize the skin. It was good for the skin for girls to eat more. Loach was not only antibacterial and anti-inflammatory, but also could help to remove acne marks. With some fragrant tofu, red dates, and broth, it could not only nourish the liver and improve qi, but also beautify the skin. The second soup was wolfberry leaf pig liver soup. Su Yiyan had previously made wolfberry leaf porridge with wolfberry leaf, and pig liver. Wolfberry leaf was not used in this soup, but astragalus and radix polygonatum. These two herbs nourished the liver. Not only could it improve the eyesight, but it also had a significant effect on dark circles, bags, and other problems. The last dish, tremella, papaya, and crucian carp soup, was a little more troublesome. First, the fish needed to be fried, then the tremella, papaya, and some red dates were added into the pot to stew. Tremella was a particularly nourishing Chinese herb for girls. Eating more of it could not only nourish the lungs, but also improve the symptoms of yellow complexion caused by the deficiency of qi and blood. Papaya had a certain breast enlargement effect. Stewing it with crucian carp and tremella had a certain therapeutic effect on girls with breast dysplasia. Almost half an hour had passed by the time Su Yiyan finished cooking these soups. When she looked up, she saw that the screen was full of requests for the medicinal cuisine to lose weight. Obviously, someone had gone out to publicize it and called those fat people who were suffering from obesity. Su Yiyan really didn't expect there to be so many fat people in this era where people basically ate nutrient solutions and only occasionally had the opportunity to go to high-end restaurants to have a sumptuous meal. It was also because most of the people around her had good figures. The only chubby one seemed to be her family's dun-dun. This little fatty had been eating well for the past few months, so he had gained a lot of weight. Now, he was already a solid ball. Occasionally, she would feel her hands getting sore from carrying him for too long. It was not a good idea to continue being so fat. It seemed that he had to control its diet. Dun-Dun, who was inexplicably implicated and about to face a reduced meal. Sure enough, now that he had a little fairy, he didn't want this big treasure anymore. Even his rations had to be deducted. It was really too difficult for him. The soup is ready. Since everyone is curious about the diet, let's make a few diet dishes. The first one was black rice, red bean, and coconut porridge. Red beans had the effect of slimming. Eating red beans could not only replenish blood, but also slimmer face and slimmer legs. Moreover, red bean porridge can be eaten as a staple food. It's easy to fill your stomach, and under the premise of slimming down, you won't go hungry. To lose weight, one did not have to diet like those celebrities who needed to lose weight in a short period of time. Eating some food that could fill one's stomach but was not high in calories could also play a certain role. However, the effect was often not immediate and needed to be sustained for a period of time. This meant that the person needed a certain amount of endurance and self-control to not eat anything else while eating these foods. Chapter 4:16. Black rice has the effect of hair growth and is also one of the miscellaneous grains. It is not easy to get fat after eating it. It can also treat hair problems while losing weight. It's killing two birds with one stone. After cooking the two together, some coconut juice and shredded orange peel were added. The porridge's fragrance instantly became rich. The second diet meal was fresh bamboo shoots and konjac noodles. Konjac had a very significant filling effect like miscellaneous grains. Corn bamboo shoots and water bamboo shoots were relatively low in calories. Together with the medicinal juice made from rhubarb and licorice, it could not only reduce weight but also improve immunity. Finally, there was a celery vegetable juice. It was juice made from celery, tomatoes, and grapefruit, with some fructose or honey added. When this vegetable juice was released, there were different voices. People who liked it very much, but there were also many people who did not like it. This vegetable juice is a bit unpalatable. It tastes a bit like nutrient solution. It's not the flavor I like. I think it's not bad. It's refreshing. If it was chilled in summer, I feel like I can drink a big cup in one go. Su Yiyan did not care too much about this. There were some differences in taste, especially when celery was added to the juice. Some people did not like this taste very much. After making some soup and porridge, Su Yiyan began to heat up the wok to cook. The first dish was braised pork trotters. Pork trotters were rich in collagen. Eating more of it could make the skin smooth and white. It could also help to remove the acne marks left behind by acne. Before this, Su Yiyan had simply processed the pork trotters. He blanched them once and marinated them with soy sauce and cooking wine for half an hour. It was just ready to be put into the wok. The previous few soups and porridge were slow stews. They had to be simmered slowly to bring out the fragrance of the food. This dish was different. As soon as it was put into the wok, a fragrant smell floated out. After seasonings such as star anise and cinnamon were added, it was as fragrant as the previous braising ingredients. It caused a heated discussion as soon as it was taken out of the wok. I have seen pork trotters in high-class restaurants before. They are usually used to stew soup. My mother ordered it once. I took a bite out of curiosity and felt that the taste was a bit strong. I always felt that it was not clean and did not particularly like it. But the host's pork trotters are really amazing. The unpleasant smell is not mentioned. It's especially chewy and flavorful. I feel like I can eat a lot of white rice with this. This pork trotters taste a bit similar to the braised food the host made before, but it's especially chewy. Especially the juice in it. It's mixed with noodles and rice. A. Steaming. D. When Su Yiyan made the pumpkin cup, he did not peel off the outer skin. Instead, he engraved a slightly complicated and beautiful pattern. It made the originally ordinary pumpkin cup inexplicably eye-catching. The steamed pumpkin was soft and tender. Paired with the refreshing lily, it was really good-looking and delicious. It captured the hearts of many girls in an instant. Chapter 4:17. Compared to the steamed pumpkin lily, the papaya with rock sugar attracted less attention. Su Yiyan smiled and touched her nose. She was a little embarrassed as she said, "Papaya has the effect of moisturizing the lungs, relieving coughing and digestion. It can also enrich the breasts. Girls who have problems in this area can try to make some at home. As you just saw, it's not difficult to make." As soon as Su Yiyan said this, the messages on the screen suddenly went blank for a few seconds. Then, a few sparse messages flashed past. From the words, one could feel their cautiousness. I feel like I shouldn't talk at this time. If I do, I'll be exposed. Even if you don't say it, you're still a good friend. I'm not talking anymore. I'm going to look for papaya and rock sugar. Although I don't like papaya very much, but everyone had a tacit understanding of what was omitted after the ellipsis. No one pointed it out. Su Yiyan coughed softly and drew everyone's attention back to her. Okay, let's do the lucky draw next. We'll draw one lucky audience member for each item. The lucky draw in the live broadcast room had always been very fast. In less than 5 minutes, the winners jumped out one by one. Su Yiyan glanced at it and suddenly realized that something was wrong. Ever since the last lucky draw, she accidentally discovered that some male audience members deliberately registered female accounts to compete for the lucky draw slots. After taking advantage of this loophole, Huo Chenhuan asked Yu Zian to make some small changes to the user accounts. Now, whether the audience members in the live broadcast room left a message or were selected from the lucky draw, there would be a small sign in front of the name that indicated the user's gender. At a glance, people could tell whether the user was male or female. Moreover, the gender on the website account had to be the same as the gender on the registration certificate. Otherwise, it wouldn't be approved. At this time, Su Yiyan saw an account with a male name in the group of female accounts. She blinked in surprise. What's going on? Ming Ming Ruin? This audience member with the ID Ming Ming Ruin, did you click on it by mistake? If it were other medicinal cuisines for sleeping, weight loss, and black hair, it would be fine. However, this audience member just happened to get rock sugar papaya. Could it be that he also needed? Su Yiyan had a flash of inspiration in his mind. He suddenly grasped a corner of the truth. He had to have a big chest. The other spectators also noticed this and began to manually at this male compatriot who had mistakenly entered the country of women to quickly hand over the medicinal cuisine. Hey, there's a man here. Sisters, quickly catch him and make him hand over the food. Ming Ming Ruin. Brother, did you accidentally click on the wrong button? Didn't the streamers say she was going to cook for her female compatriots? Ming Ming Ruin. Taking a closer look, this person seems to have drawn. Cough cough, you really don't need this. It would be a waste to take it. Hurry up and hand it over. Can I buy it with 5,000 coins? Ming Ming Ruin, 5,500. Come over here and take a look at me. Ming Ming Ruin, 6,000, no more. Ming Ming Ruin, 6,600. That's an auspicious number. 7,000. A good condemnation suddenly turned into a live auction. At first, this person pretended to be dead and didn't want to respond. Later, perhaps because too many people at him, he finally popped up. Ming Ming Ruin, not selling. We don't lack money at home. Thank you. The food is for my wife. I didn't order it by mistake. The audience. The single dog felt a critical hit from the couple. Su Yiyan. Okay. Chapter 418. While Su Yiyan was busy giving gifts to the lucky viewers, Huo Chenhuan was also busy questioning Yu Zian. Why did Yen Yen get a male account in the lucky draw in her live stream? Yu Zian looked confused and said carefully, Young master, you forgot. After you and young madam got married, you removed the restriction of only drawing male accounts in young madam's live broadcast room. Huo Chenhuan. He really forgot. After the two of them got married, Su Yiyan did not know if it was intentional or not, but there was one time when she suddenly mentioned during dinner that the audience in her live stream lucky draw seemed to be mostly women, and there were not many men. There were a few episodes where she talked about baldness and certain men's hidden ailments. Looking at the comments, those male viewers seemed to be in urgent need of it, but it seemed like all the female accounts were drawn. It was also possible that some men had strong self-esteem and were too embarrassed to fight for their ailments. But those people who were begging on the screen didn't even participate in the lucky draw. Something was really wrong. When Huo Chenhuan heard Su Yiyan's words, his heart suddenly skipped a beat and he felt inexplicably guilty. In order to protect his little secret, Hua Chenhuan generously removed the unspoken rule of only drawing female accounts in the live broadcast room. Since they were married, he could eat 3 meals cooked by his wife every day, so he wouldn't lower himself to the level of those lucky viewers who fought for it. Now that he saw Su Yiyen's live broadcast room draw a male account again, Hua Chenhuan realized that he wasn't as generous as he thought. If it was only the ones in the shop that Su Yiyen instructed and made by someone else, it would be fine. But she made it herself, and he was already a little unhappy that she gave it to the female viewers, let alone these stinky men who didn't know the details. Change it back. What? Change the previous setting back. Yu Xian's expression stiffened, and he probed, "You mean, change the setting of only drawing male accounts in young madam's live broadcast room? You have a problem with that?" This was a familiar question, a familiar atmosphere. How could he dare to say no? After getting a satisfactory answer, Hua Chenhuan hung up the phone directly. As Yu Xian listened to the busy tone on the other end of the line, he really couldn't understand why his young master had suddenly made such a fuss. He could only sigh silently in his heart. Married men were really fickle. Su Yiyen made so many nourishing dishes at once. She definitely couldn't finish them all by herself. She packed a portion for Cheng Xiuqin and gave the rest to the maids in the house who needed it. She only kept a few dishes that suited her taste. When Hua Chenhuan came down, she immediately saw the braised pork trotters, black rice, red bean and coconut congee, and papaya with rock sugar. As soon as Su Yiyen looked up, she saw Hua Chenhuan staring at her with a slightly indescribable and curious gaze. She couldn't help but have a few question marks in her mind. Then she saw Hua Chenhuan's gaze move down stiffly, drifting to her. A deathly silence and awkwardness spread between the two of them. In the end, the first to admit defeat was actually Hua Chenhuan. He quickly averted his gaze, picked up the bowl, and looked at the dishes on the table as if nothing had happened. However, his burning ears betrayed his true thoughts at that moment. Su Yiyen? What was going on? Shouldn't she be the one being shy at a time like this? Why are you being shy? Chapter 419. Su Yiyen's eyes turned slightly. She held her chin and said with a faint smile, "I just saw a post on the internet. It's quite interesting." Hua Chenhuan's hands suddenly paused. What post? A discussion post about whether boys like girls with big breasts or girls with small breasts. Hua Chenhuan's spoon hit the bowl with a clang. The bright red that stopped at the tip of her ears suddenly spread to her cheeks and neck. "Don't look at these useless posts." Su Yiyen suppressed her laughter and said smoothly, "It's indeed useless, but I'm very curious, what? Do you like girls with big breasts or girls with small breasts?" Hua Chenhuan's mind went blank. When she looked up, she met Su Yiyen's teasing gaze. She knew that someone was deliberately teasing her. While it was funny, she also felt a little embarrassed. "You're very good like this." Su Yiyen was slightly stunned. Then her eyes curved slightly. She dragged her voice and said, "Oh, I understand." Hua Chenhuan. Understood? Understood what? Just by listening to her tone, Hua Chenhuan was sure that what she said was definitely not what he thought. However, no matter how curious she was, Hua Chenhuan did not dare to ask in detail. She was afraid that Su Yiyen would say something shocking again and she would not be able to handle it. Uncle Zhang, who was standing not far away, listened to the young couple's conversation and could not help but smile kindly. Young couples should often tease each other. Only by bickering could their relationship warm up and not separate. As an old man, he found it interesting to see such a young couple. The two of them had dinner peacefully. Hua Chenhuan suddenly asked, "Do you have anything to do tomorrow night?" "Nothing." Su Yiyen basically went home after work. "What's wrong?" "Then accompany me out tomorrow night." "Out? To do what?" Su Yiyen was a little surprised. Hua Chenhuan actually took the initiative to say that she wanted to go out. Could it be that she wanted to go on a date with her? To attend a birthday banquet. Su Yiyen was stunned. Birthday banquet? Whose birthday banquet? It's the birthday banquet of the old master of the Lan family. Hua Chenhuan was afraid that Su Yiyen did not understand, and then explained, "Mr. Lan and my father have been friends for many years." When Uncle Zhang heard this, he also chimed in. Master and the Lan family's master were high school friends. When Master and Madam were alive, the relationship between the two families was very good. After the two of them passed away, only the Lan family took good care of the young master. Tomorrow is old Master Lan's 70th birthday. It's reasonable for young master and young madam to congratulate him. When he said that, Su Yiyan understood. Hua Qinhuan's parents had handed over the Hua Corporation to Hua Qihan before they died. Hua Qinhuan's legs were like that, so she had obviously been abandoned. Businessmen valued profits. Some of the so-called partners who had gathered because of profits naturally knew who to please and who to belittle at this time. Who didn't know how to add flowers to a brocade? People's hearts could only be seen when charcoal was in snowy weather. This Lan family was indeed very righteous to help Hua Qinhuan under such circumstances and take care of this orphan of an old friend. No wonder Hua Qinhuan, who didn't like to go out, wanted to attend this old man's birthday banquet in person. Su Yiyan understood and felt a little distressed at the same time. Every time she thought about how Hua Qinhuan had endured in the past few years, she couldn't help but feel sad and regretful that she hadn't met him earlier. Chapter 420. If that's the case, then we should go over to celebrate his birthday. Su Yiyan seemed to have thought of something and said anxiously, "Then the gift." Uncle Zhang smiled and said, "Young madam, you don't have to worry about that. Young master has already prepared the gift." "That's good." Su Yiyan breathed a sigh of relief. "Then I'll come back early tomorrow and accompany you to celebrate Master Lan's birthday." Hua Qinhuan looked at the two of them holding hands and smiled slightly. She replied in a low voice, "Okay." The next afternoon, Su Yiyan got off work an hour early and went home to accompany Hua Qinhuan to pick out clothes for the evening. In the end, she chose a sapphire blue suit for him and a dress of the same color for herself. They looked like a couple's outfits. Uncle Zhang couldn't help nodding when he saw what Hua Qinhuan was wearing. His young master was only 26 years old this year and was still young. Wearing bright colors would make him look more energetic. Wearing those dark formal suits all day long made him look like an old man. It was a waste of his young master's face, which had once attracted countless girls. The young couple wore the couple's outfits and happily went to the Lan family's small villa in the suburbs. When they arrived, there were already many people inside. As soon as Su Yiyan pushed Hua Qinhuan through the door, many people stopped talking and turned to look at them. Su Yiyan frowned slightly. He was worried that Hua Qinhuan wouldn't be used to these people's explicit stares. Then, he heard Hua Qinhuan say gently, "Uncle Lan and Aunt Yi are over there. Let's go over and say hello to them first." Su Yiyan saw that he didn't show any discomfort with the stares and was slightly relieved. He pushed him in the direction he pointed. Master Lan was 70 years old this year. Although his hair was a little white, he was still in good spirits and his body was quite strong. When he saw Hua Qinhuan coming over, his eyes lit up and he said with a smile, "Young Master Hua is here." Master Lan was from the same generation as Hua Qinhuan's father, so it was reasonable for him to call him young master. However, it was obvious that he was close and fond of Hua Qinhuan. What was more, Hua Qinhuan was also willing to respond to him. "Uncle Lan's birthday today. As a junior, it would be rude if I didn't come to say some auspicious words to you." The blue old man smiled, but there seemed to be tears in his eyes. "If I had known that I would be able to call you out on my birthday, I would have done it a few years earlier." Everyone present understood that he was just teasing. If it had been Hua Qinhuan from a few years ago, even if it was his birthday, Hua Qinhuan might not have come in person even though he would have sent gifts. The real reason he changed. Madame Lan patted her husband's hand and looked at Su Yiyan. She said with a smile, "Is this Miss Su?" Su Yiyan was suddenly called. He hurried to Hua Qinhuan's side and politely said, "Hello, madam. My husband and Qinhuan's father were good friends. If you don't mind, you can call me Aunt Yi like Qinhuan." Hua Qinhuan was his father's son when he was old. He was basically a generation older than his peers. If Su Yiyan called her Aunt Yi like other people, he would be a generation younger. Following her advice, he called out, "Aunt Yi." Old Madame Lan happily agreed. "When you two got married, us two old fellows couldn't personally go to see you. It's a pity." However, we both believe in Chen judgment. We know you must be a good child. Chapter 421. Su Yiyan and Hua Chenhuan's wedding was held on a private island. The two elders were too old to take a boat, so they only asked their son and daughter-in-law to go. When they came back, they only said that Hua Chenhuan was very happy. The way he looked at the bride was very gentle. He was like a beast that had lost control and put away his claws and fangs. He became harmless and gentle. When the two elders first heard the rumors outside, they were a little worried about the marriage between the two of them. But when they heard their son and daughter-in-law say so, they were relieved. Although Hua Chenhuan was not their child, they had watched him grow up after all. If he didn't really like Miss Su, even if they were forced to be together, he would not be kind to her. Su Yiyan heard her implicit praise and blushed. She was a little embarrassed. Hua Chenhuan took the initiative to hold her hand. His eyes were full of smiles. Obviously, he agreed with old Madame Lan's words. Old Master Lan saw their small movements and nodded with a smile. I'm relieved to see you like this. Old Hua and sister-in-law will definitely be happy for you when they see you like this. As soon as old Master Lan said this, the atmosphere between them suddenly became cold. Old Madame Lan was the first to react. She raised her hand and hit him on the back of his head. Why are you talking about this? Su Yiyan? Did they start to hit him because of a disagreement? Hua Chenhuan and the younger generation of the Lan family beside the two elders seemed to be used to this. They looked as if they were saying, "Oh, Grandpa the Dad has been hit again." Old Master Lan touched the back of his head and said timidly, "Save me some face in front of the child." Old Madame Lan snorted. Is face for others to save for you? You are so disrespectful in front of the child. You deserve to lose face. She said and pulled Old Master Lan's ear. Old Master Lan was scared and hid. Several of the younger generation of the Lan family saw that their grandfather was in trouble and hurried to persuade him. Su Yiyan and Hua Chenhuan were squeezed out. This. Su Yiyan blinked her eyes in confusion. Hua Chenhuan couldn't help but laugh. Uncle Lan was famous for being a henpecked husband when he was young. No matter if it was at home or outside, he was always obedient to Auntie. But no matter how noisy they are truly in love with each other. It has been like a day for decades. After the initial surprise, Su Yiyan also saw something from the old man's quarrel. Generally speaking, it was impossible for a man to lose to a woman. Old Madame Lan doesn't look like a particularly good person, but old Master Lan can do it without fighting back, scolding without talking back. In the end, it's because of love. Moreover, if you look carefully, you will find that old Madame Lan hit him, but she never hit him too hard. Although old Master Lan wailed, there was no dissatisfaction or anger in his eyes. There was only a smile and indulgence. Jealous. Su Yiyan was shocked and turned to look at Hua Chenhuan by reflex. As soon as the servant met his smiling eyes, she snorted and threatened, "If you make me angry in the future, I will hit you like she did." "Okay, I promise I won't fight back." Su Yiyan frowned and said with dissatisfaction, "Shouldn't you say you won't make me angry at this time?" Hua Chenhuan. What a mistake. Yes, I promise I won't make you angry in the future. That's more like it. Several of the younger generation of the Lan family who wanted to step forward to stop the fight but happened to hear the conversation between the two. This is too much. We just ate the old man's dog food and now we have to eat yours. Do single dogs have no human rights? Chapter 422. After the commotion caused by old Madame Lan, the atmosphere between them returned to its original harmony. When the people on the other side saw this scene, they were not in a good mood like Su Yiyan and the others. What's wrong with old Master Lan? We came to celebrate his birthday out of kindness, but he's so nice. He ignores us, but he's very enthusiastic about Hua Chenhuan and that little b****. Hua Chihan listened to his wife's complaints, and his face was as black as the bottom of a pot. Chenhuan is a family Hua after all. Father was so close to old Master Lan when he was alive, and Chenhuan is like that now. It's inevitable that he'll care more about him. Why are you shouting so loudly? If others hear you, they'll think that we can't tolerate him. Mrs. Hua choked, but she still felt a little uncomfortable. He's a family Hua, but aren't you? Touch your conscience and tell me, was their attitude towards us the same as their attitude towards those two people? Hua Qihan's face became uglier after being choked by his wife. Mrs. Hua was not in the mood to care about his feelings. When they came to the Lan family before, they had never met Hua Chenhuan. Naturally, they didn't know that the Lan family's attitude toward them was so different from when they faced Hua Chenhuan. Now that they knew, they definitely felt uncomfortable. In addition, too many things had happened at home in the past month or two. Their moods were at a critical point, and they could explode completely. Mrs. Hua looked at the various people coming and going at the banquet and felt that everyone was looking at them strangely. She tugged at Hua Qihan's sleeve and said suspiciously, "Do you think they already know that Xiaofeng has been kicked out of the Hua family, so they're hitting us when we're down and deliberately ignoring us? Have these guys forgotten how they licked their faces and begged you to cooperate with them?" Enough. Hua Qihan finally couldn't help but shout. During this time, he was most annoyed that Hua Xiaofeng had been kicked out of his company. He was the person in charge and the decision-maker of the company, but his only son was targeted by the board of directors and directly kicked out of his own company. This was a great humiliation to him. Now, who didn't say that he didn't teach his son well? It was fine that his son's private life was messy, but he didn't have any ability. He had been in the company for less than half a year and was dissuaded by his own board of directors. What a joke. When Hua Qihan now thought about it, he wished that he didn't have such a son, and he was also dissatisfied with his wife. If she hadn't spoiled him since he was a child, would his son? Will you become mute if you don't speak? Hua Qihan's SSS. Hua Qihan's SSS. Hua Qihan glared at her fiercely. He suppressed his anger and asked, "Where's Xiaofeng? And where did he?" "I just said that I wasn't feeling well, so I went out to get some fresh air." "Get some fresh air?" Hua Qihan's face darkened. "Why are you running around in someone else's house? Don't tell me he went to look for that woman again?" Mrs. Hua's expression changed when she heard this. No way. Who knows? It's not the first time he's messed up a good thing. Hurry up and go find him. If you find him in contact with that woman again, tell him to get out of my sight. I don't have a son like him. Chapter 423. Mrs. Hua opened her mouth but did not say anything in the end. If it had been someone else, she might have been able to defend Hua Xiaofeng. But now that that woman was involved, not to mention Hua Qihan, even his mother suspected that the woman had put a curse on her son. He had suffered so many losses at her hands. She and her husband had also threatened him that if he had any contact with that woman again, they would cut ties with him. But he still did as he pleased. Had they really spoiled him so much over the years that he was fearless? Or was he sure that he was their only son and could not do anything to him? Mrs. Hua was full of anger, but she could not really admit that her son was stupid. So, she put all her resentment on Wen Jingping. In the original novel, Mrs. Hua did not have a good impression of Wen Jingping, the heroine from a poor family. She felt that she was not worthy of her son. Now, Wen Jingping had dragged her down several times. Even her son's position as the heir had been removed. Mrs. Hua increasingly felt that this woman was a jinx. She was afraid that she would never accept such a daughter-in-law in the future. Family Hua and Mrs. Hua were losing their minds. They were almost angered to death. On the other hand, Hua Chenhuan and Hua Xiaofeng were enjoying the highest courtesy of the Lan family. Unfortunately, although Old Master Lan and Old Madam Lan liked Hua Chenhuan, they were old and did not have much energy. After a few more words with the two of them, she asked her son and daughter-in-law to help take care of them. When the men gathered together, most of the topics they could find to talk about were related to business. Mrs. Lan was worried that Su Yiyen would be bored listening to them, so she asked her daughter-in-law to take Su Yiyen to the side to eat something. Today, the Lan family's private chef was in charge of the food and beverage at the banquet. This chef was somewhat famous outside. Some of the people at the banquet had come because of his reputation. Therefore, it was not rude for the two of them to hide and eat at the side. Su Yiyen tried some of their snacks. He had to admit that this chef was quite capable. The food he made was much better than the chef's outside. Is it to your taste? Lan Foran's eldest daughter-in-law Yen Xiaoran saw that Su Yen had only taken a bite of the pastry before stopping, and asked with a faint smile. Su Yen seemed to have woken up from a dream. It's quite delicious. Grandma's appetite isn't that good when the weather gets hot. If the food at home isn't good, she won't be able to eat. Su Yen understood instantly. No wonder the Lan family's chef was so good at cooking. If it wasn't so good, he might not have been able to enter their house. These men never stop talking once they start talking about serious matters. We can't even get a word in if we stay by their side. Why don't we come over and eat something first? You and Shenhuan didn't eat anything before coming here, did you? I came here in a hurry, so I ate some snacks that I made this morning. I'm not particularly hungry. You know how to make pastries too? Yen Xiaoran was a little surprised. I've learned a thing or two from my family's chef, but the taste is not as good as yours. Yen Xiaoran was quite confident in her family's chef's craftsmanship, but she was surprised. Your family's chef doesn't hide anything. Su Yen smiled and did not say anything. Just at this moment, a slightly familiar figure walked in from outside, attracting Yen Xiaoran's attention. Little Yi, come here. Yen Xiaoran waved at the young man not far away and called him over. Su Yen followed the sound and saw the person approaching. His eyes widened slightly and he was surprised. It's him. Chapter 424. Lan Jia walked up to Yen Xiaoran and greeted her flatteringly, sister-in-law. It's fine if it's any other day, but today is such an important day. Why did you come back so late and make the guests wait? Your brother and father are greeting the guests and have no time to talk to you. When they find out tomorrow, they'll definitely beat you up again. Sister-in-law, it's no use calling your mother. Tell me honestly, where did you go? Su Yen couldn't help but laugh when she heard Yen Xiaoran's words. Lan Jie then noticed that there was a girl beside his sister-in-law. He took a closer look and recognized Su Yen. It's you! Yen Xiaoran looked at Lan Jie and then at Su Yen. You know each other? We've met once before. Yes. I met this lady at the streamer's shop before. There were no other empty seats in the shop, so I went over to share a table with her. Streamer? Yen Xiaoran thought for a moment and knew who Lan Jie was talking about. She looked at Su Yen with an inexplicable sense of friendliness. You're a fan of the streamer too? Su Yen laughed dryly and didn't say yes or no. Yen Xiaoran stared at her for a while and felt a little strange. Lan Jie didn't think much of it and said casually, I left in a hurry last time and didn't have time to ask for your name. I thought we wouldn't meet again, but I didn't expect to meet you again at my grandfather's birthday banquet. It's fate. Grandfather? Then the grandmother you mentioned before. She thought about how Lan Jie said his grandmother had a bad appetite and how Yen Xiaoran said old Madame Lan couldn't eat when the weather was hot. She immediately understood. Su Yen touched her nose awkwardly and thought to herself, this is too much of a coincidence. The first audience she sent to her live streaming room happened to be a member of the Lan family. Yes, have you met my grandparents? Lan Jie asked and then remembered that he still didn't know Su Yen's name. You're a guest today too? Before Lan Jie could finish his words, Yen Xiaoran stepped forward and introduced him. Little Yi, this is your Uncle Hua's wife. Based on seniority, you should call her aunt. Su Yen almost choked on the pastry. No need. Just call me by my name. Although Su Yen had always used her status as an aunt to annoy Hua Xiaofeng, she was actually not used to being called an aunt by her peers. Lan Jie heaved a sigh of relief. That's great. I'm not used to addressing someone who's not much older than me as my aunt. Wouldn't that make her sound old? Jie. Yen Xiaoran yelled at him in disapproval. It's okay. My surname is Su, and my name is Yayan. Lan Jie's attention was instantly diverted. Yayan? Which Yen? Don't talk when eating or sleeping. Isn't that the streamer's Yen? What a coincidence. Su Yen's expression completely froze. She lowered her head and took a bite of the pastry to hide the guilt in her eyes. She laughed dryly and said, it's quite a coincidence. I followed her because of her name. If she had known that such a day would come, she would not have been lazy to give herself such an ID name. No wonder. Lan Jiaye said casually and did not take it to heart. On the other hand, Yan Xiaoran heard Lan Jiaye's words and saw the change in Su Yiyen's expression. She suddenly thought of something and looked at Su Yiyen with a meaningful gaze. Chapter 425. Yan Xiaoran took a long look at Su Yiyen before returning to the original topic. You haven't told me where you went just now. She then added, don't try to lie to me. You've been going out from time to time these past few days. Your brother already asked your classmates and friends. You didn't look for them when you went out. Where did you go? Lan Jiaye was only a few years younger than Yan Xiaoran and Lan Minghan. Yan Xiaoran didn't really want to interfere with Lan Jiaye's private life, but he had been going out too often recently, and his family had noticed that something was wrong. Although Lan Minghan didn't say anything, he was actually a little anxious. He was afraid that Lan Jiaye would learn bad things from some shady people or that he didn't dare to tell them. That was why Yan Xiaoran wanted to take this opportunity to ask him properly. Lan Jiaye was a little embarrassed when he heard her words. He laughed foolishly and said, It's nothing. I just went to pick someone up. Pick someone up? Yan Xiaoran frowned slightly. Lan Jiaye giggled foolishly again. He fidgeted and didn't say anything, just like a young lady. Su Yiyen watched from the side and suddenly had an epiphany. Girlfriend? Yan Xiaoran was stunned. A few seconds later, she reacted and exclaimed, Really? You have a girlfriend? When did this happen? Why didn't you tell us something so important? Lan Jiaye blushed slightly and said with a smile, It happened a few months ago. We just confirmed our relationship recently, so I didn't tell you guys. So you've been going out to look for her recently? Even today? Yeah. Then why didn't you just bring her over? She said that we just started dating and she wasn't ready to meet my parents right away. Yan Xiaoran raised her eyebrows. She sounded like a reserved girl, but she didn't know what her personality was like. Is that girl your classmate or someone introduced her to you? Did you pursue her first? Lan Jiaye didn't want to hide it anymore and said honestly, We're from the same school, but we're not in the same faculty. She's a year younger than me. As for pursuing her, you could say that I pursued her first. Why do you sound like you're not very sure? Actually, I only had a good impression of her at first. I didn't have that kind of thought. Then why are you? It's all because of the host's Chinese motherwort boiled eggs. Su Yiyen was shocked when she was suddenly called out again. What does this have to do with the streamer? She remembered that the online ID of this young master of the Lan family seemed to be, What can I do if I don't like you? Did she draw him in the boiled eggs with motherwort episode? Yan Xiaoran saw her reaction, and her eyes flashed with a ray of light. Lan Jiaye smiled awkwardly and said, Didn't the streamer pick 3 lucky viewers during the live stream? I contacted one of them and asked her to transfer the prize to me. I wanted to give it to you, but I didn't expect. Yan Xiaoran suddenly realized that when the Chinese motherwort boiled eggs were delivered to her, she was on her period and was in extreme pain. She heard from Lan Minghan that he had won this item from a lucky draw while watching someone's live stream. It was effective in treating menstrual pain. Before he brought it back, he had already tried it himself. There weren't any problems, so he asked her if she wanted to try it. Although Yan Xiaoran felt that the stuff online wasn't very reliable, her stomach was really hurting, so she drank it in the end. She didn't expect it to be effective. Chapter 426. It was also from then on that she and Lan Minghan became Su Yiyen's die-hard fans. However, other than tipping and participating in the lucky draw, they spent most of their time lurking and did not have much of a presence. Don't tell me, you gave this to your little girlfriend after you saw it? Lan Jiaye nodded in embarrassment. When he brought it home, he realized that although his brother said he did not want to watch it, his brother's body was very honest. He was lucky enough to be one of the lucky viewers. Since both of them had it, there was no need for him to give it to them. Lan Jiaye could not eat it himself, but it would be a waste to throw it away. After weighing the pros and cons, he gave it to his junior who had a good impression of him and was also suffering from menstrual cramps. He did not expect that when he gave it to her, others would think that he was wooing her. His junior did not think that way, but she felt embarrassed not to reciprocate after eating his food. As time went by, the two of them came into contact with each other. After that, the two of them began to have feelings for each other. Naturally, when the conditions were right, success was achieved. After hearing his explanation, Su Yiyen said with a stiff face, "So, when you said you wanted to meet her personally and thank her, it was to thank her for unintentionally bringing your marriage together?" "That's one reason. My grandma's incident is another." Yen Xiaoran nodded in understanding and chuckled. "So, the streamer is your matchmaker?" Su Yiyen. No, she did not want to be their matchmaker at all. Lan Jie touched his nose and smiled a little foolishly. "You can say that. But I'm relieved to know that you're just getting a girlfriend and did not do anything bad. If something like this happens again in the future, you should tell us earlier so that our family doesn't know the inside story and secretly let their imagination run wild." "Got it. 'Kay, go find your brother and the others. I have something to talk to your aunt about." Lan Jie instinctively wanted to ask something, but he was afraid that Yen Xiaoran would ask him about his girlfriend. He could only suppress his curiosity and hurriedly leave. As soon as he left, Yen Xiaoran looked at Su Yiyen and suddenly picked up a piece of pastry from the table and handed it to her. "Eat one more." Su Yiyen had just eaten one. Seeing that the taste of this pastry seemed to be different from the previous one, she didn't think much of it and reached out to take it. Su Yiyen raised her head and looked at her in confusion. Her hand was already holding the pastry, but the other party did not let go. Before he could say anything, he heard Yen Xiaoran say, "You are actually the host, right?" Su Yiyen's eyes narrowed and her smile was a little stiff. "What did you say? How could I? I recognize your hand." "And?" Su Yiyen reflexively retracted her hand. Little did she know that her action had confirmed Yen Xiaoran's conjecture. "Your hands are slender and fair. I can tell that you've lived a comfortable life and haven't done any heavy work. But there's a small scar on the back of your right hand's ring finger. I saw it during the live broadcast. It's exactly the same. In addition, when Little Yi mentioned the host, your reaction was a little strange. Your name overlaps with the host's name, and when Little Yi went to your shop, he happened to bump into you, so I boldly made a guess. Could you be the host?" Su Yiyen widened her eyes and looked at the white scar on her right hand's ring finger that was not even the size of a fingernail. She sighed inwardly. "Are you from the special department? You observed so carefully while watching a live broadcast." Chapter 427. Su Yiyen complained in her heart. Her mouth twitched. "Why didn't you tell him just now? Since you don't want to show your real face to others even though you've opened a shop, and you don't want to reveal your identity when you see Jia Yi, I think you don't want too many people to know about this." Yen Xiaoran winked at her playfully. "Don't worry, I won't tell anyone." Su Yiyen's mood was complicated. She didn't know whether to be sad or happy. "I know it's rude of me to ask about your identity so rashly. But recently, I've been troubled by a question. It's rare to meet the right person, so I couldn't help but ask." "What's the question?" "Can pregnant women eat rock candy papaya?" Su Yin almost choked on her own saliva. "Wait, rock candy papaya? Did you make it yourself?" "Of course not, it was a gift from the streamer's live stream." "Did the streamer forget?" Su Yen's eyes widened slightly. She had a bold guess in her heart. She asked tentatively, "Pardon me for asking, but your husband is—" "My husband's surname is Lan, and his name is Ming Han." "Lan Ming Han. This name, Ming Ming. Ruin? Does the streamer remember him?" The corner of Su Yiyen's mouth twitched a few times. She thought to herself, the only male viewer who won the prize was just right. After that, he even showed off his affection in her live broadcast room. If she still did not have an impression of him, then she would be too careless. "It's okay to eat a little, just don't eat too much." "That's good." Yen Xiaoran breathed a sigh of relief. "Speaking of which, Jia Yi isn't the only one who needs to thank you. Ming Han and I also need to thank you. If it weren't for the medicinal cuisine in your live stream, I'm afraid I wouldn't have a child so soon. Su Yen heard her words and had a bad feeling. Could it be that she and young Master Lan had eaten the medicinal cuisine that she made in her live stream to treat ovaries or men's diseases? Yen Xiaoran seemed to have seen through Su Yiyen's thoughts. She looked at her and smiled meaningfully. Su Yiyen, the odds of winning are so high. Is your family the reincarnation of a koi? Ahem, you and your husband are young. It's only a matter of time before you have a child. It's just a coincidence. That's true, but your medicinal cuisine must have had some effect. Auntie, you don't have to be modest. Su Yayan. She was at a loss for words when he called her aunt. How many months are you pregnant? Almost 3 months. Yen Xiaoran's stomach had actually started to rise and fall a little. It was just that the clothes she wore today were a little loose, so it couldn't be seen. Your body is weak and you have some symptoms of cold congealing in your womb. You are more sensitive to the cold than the average person. During menstruation, your lower abdomen will also be cold and painful, and you will have to suffer a lot. Yen Xiaoran was startled. She was a little nervous. Then what should we do? When the month gets bigger and the weather gets hotter, they should also be careful not to be too greedy. Teat. You can also soak your feet properly before you sleep. Let him massage the sunken part of your feet. You'll feel much better. Su Yiyen paused and comforted her. The child is fine now. Don't worry. Yen Xiaoran sighed in relief. She knew that Su Yiyen's suggestions were good for her body. She listened carefully and remembered them in her heart. Chapter 428. If you feel any discomfort after giving birth, you can also ask me. Su Yiyen then seemed to think of something and added, you can also ask other doctors. I'm not as professional as they are. Yen Xiaoran smiled. In my opinion, you're much more reliable than them. Su Yiyen smiled but didn't say anything. She said this to Yen Xiaoran only because she cared about the kindness of the 2 elders of the Lan family who had helped Hua Chenhuan in the past. Yen Xiaoran was the eldest daughter-in-law of the Lan family. As Father Lan gradually handed over the Lan family's company to Lan Minghan in recent years, Mother Lan slowly gave up her position as the mistress of the Lan family. She accompanied her husband and the 2 elders to live a leisurely retirement life. At first, no one noticed that she was separated from the main group. Now that they saw the 2 of them hiding in a remote corner, they came over one by one. In just a few minutes, there were already 5 or 6 more people around the 2 of them. These people came for Yen Xiaoran, and most of them didn't know Su Yiyen, so they didn't dare to talk to her rashly. Su Yiyen saw through these people's thoughts and was happy to be invisible. However, when she turned her gaze, she happened to see Hua Qihan, his wife, and Hua Xiaofeng not far away. This family of 3 was quite interesting. They came to attend someone else's birthday banquet, and their faces were dark the whole time. Especially the father and son, they didn't even want to look at each other and kept their backs to each other. Those who didn't know better would think that they weren't father and son, but enemies. Mrs. Hua, who was sandwiched between the 2 of them, was naturally in a bad situation. She looked at her husband and then at her son, and she looked like she didn't know how to persuade them. A madam who wanted to please Yen Xiaoran but couldn't get a word in edgewise saw that Su Yiyen had been staring in the direction of the family of 3. Her eyes flashed, and she finally found an opportunity to speak. Hey, aren't those people over there from the family Hua? Why do they look like they're quarreling? The other madam's attention was also instantly attracted. Family Hua? The family Hua of the Hua group? Who else could it be? Why are they here? When Yen Xiaoran heard someone suddenly mention the family Hua, she subconsciously glanced at Su Yiyen. Seeing that her expression didn't seem to change, he faintly said, Family Hua's old master and our old master have known each other since they were young. Today is old master's birthday, so we invited these people to join in the fun. Several people saw that her expression was cold, and when she mentioned those people, she did not have the slightest intimacy in her voice. They knew that Yen Xiaoran did not like these people very much. Yen Xiaoran was the Lan family's young mistress and the future mistress of the Lan family. Her attitude most likely represented the Lan family's attitude. They looked at each other and immediately understood what attitude they should adopt towards the family Hua trio. I heard that the young master of the family Hua was recently kicked out of the company by the old directors of the Hua Corporation. I heard about it too. Don't you think it's funny? The Hua Corporation was founded by old master Hua himself. Now, he actually kicked out his own heir. If this was in the ancient times of Earth, this would be considered a coup d'etat. If old master Hua's spirit is in heaven, I'm afraid he'll come back to life from anger. You can't blame the directors of the Hua Corporation. Although the Hua Corporation is a family Hua business, it's not only related to the family Hua's interests. Which of these old directors who receive dividends doesn't want to sit at home and earn a lot of money? Unfortunately, the young master of the Hua Corporation is a loser. You all heard about the Hua Corporation's plot of land a few days ago, right? Chapter 429. Yes. I heard about it too. Didn't the Hua Corporation donate that piece of land later on? They're a big corporation after all. They donated such a large piece of land just like that. Do you think they wanted to? They were forced to do it. I have a distant relative who happened to be in charge of the handover of that piece of land. I heard that because young Master Hua was in charge of that piece of land, he didn't get anyone to survey it before bidding for it. When they started construction, they immediately dug up something underneath. Coincidentally, young Master Hua brought a girl to look for Miss Su at the time, and the media happened to expose it. The Hua Corporation's reputation was damaged, and their stock price kept falling. They had no choice but to donate that piece of land to salvage some of their reputation. I know about that too. Do you think there's something wrong with young Master Family Hua's brain? When he broke off his engagement with Miss Su at the same time, it was such a big deal. Anyone with eyes could see that they were in the wrong. Yet, he still had the audacity to bring that mistress to look for Miss Su so openly. It looks like he really doesn't think he's in the wrong. These people only heard rumors and didn't necessarily understand the details. Otherwise, they would have recognized that the person sitting in front of them was one of the main characters in their conversation. One of the ladies said with a dark expression, "Which one of these stinky men thinks they're in the wrong for abandoning their wives to look for other women? If it weren't for that piece of land, they might have been picked up high and put down lightly again." If you ask me, young Master Hua deserves to be kicked out of the Hua Corporation. Not only is he incapable, but his character is also terrible. If the Hua Corporation is really handed over to him, I'm afraid it's the end. Perhaps they wanted to use the family Hua as a stumbling block, or perhaps it was because the family Hua's reputation in the industry wasn't good, but they spared no effort in criticizing the family Hua. Su Yen listened from the side and more or less took pleasure in their misfortune. When the other ladies heard the last lady's words, they looked at each other and understood what was going on. This madam's younger sister just so happened to be married to a man with a mistress outside. Before the marriage, she thought that he was a good man, but who knew that he would only reveal his true nature after the marriage? The madam's parents were old-fashioned people. They felt that it would be difficult for their daughter to find another man after the divorce, so they kept preventing her sister from getting a divorce. Her younger sister had been tortured for a few years. 2 years ago, she couldn't take it anymore and decided to castrate her husband and wipe her own knife. With such a record, it was normal that she did not have a good impression of Hua Xiaofeng. After all, most people would only feel pain when they stabbed themselves or the people they cared about. Now that their heir has been kicked out, I'm afraid the Hua Corporation is coming to an end. That's not necessarily true. Who knows, Mrs. Hua might be able to give birth to a young master for the family Hua. Haha. When these words came out, several people could not help but laugh. In fact, they also knew that instead of hoping that Mrs. Hua would be able to keep her promise, it was better to hope that Hua Qihan would be strong and find another woman to give birth to a younger son for him. Even so, there were still some people who were not optimistic about this family. Actually, the family Hua has been going downhill over the years since it was handed over to the current person in charge. Isn't that so? When old Chairman Hua was still around, the Hua Corporation, several people shook their heads in unison and looked regretful. It's a pity. If the young master of the family Hua hadn't met with an accident back then, the whole corporation would be in charge of the whole corporation. The whole corporation might be different now. Chapter 430. Su Yiyan was shocked when she heard this. She felt like she was enjoying the show, but she was suddenly shocked by her own family. Speaking of which, I think I saw the young master coming over. He was just talking to the old master and old madam. The person was not sure and turned to ask Yan Xiaoran, "Isn't that right, Xiaoran?" Yan Xiaoran smiled. "Today is grandfather's 70th birthday. Uncle Chenhuan took the time out of his busy schedule to come. Grandfather and grandmother are very happy." The way she called him Uncle Chenhuan was a stark contrast to the way she referred to him as these people. It really is him. After all, the old master is more influential. Ever since, it seems that he rarely shows his face outside. Isn't that right? I almost didn't recognize him when I saw him just now. He looks even better than before, but those legs. It's a pity. If it weren't for that accident, my little niece might have been a couple with him. Su Yiyan choked and shocked everyone at the table. Yan Xiaoran knew why she choked and quickly patted her on the back to help her breathe. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine." Su Yiyan waved her hand with a subtle expression. Not only did she gossip about her own family, but she almost caused her own house to collapse. "You just said that your niece almost became a couple with the young master of the family Hua back then?" That person opened her mouth and was about to speak, but the woman next to her had already exposed her. "Don't listen to her nonsense. How could the family Hua like her niece?" The woman who had boasted about her niece was a little guilty at first when Su Yiyan asked, but she was unhappy when she heard this. "My niece is a pure and innocent girl, and she's also beautiful. Why would the Hua family not like my niece? Innocent and beautiful girls can't marry into a rich family these days." "You." Su Yiyan didn't know who these two women were, but she could tell that they didn't get along. She raised her eyebrows and asked curiously, "Your niece is engaged to young Master Hua?" The woman's expression stiffened, and her eyes began to wander. The woman who was bickering with her sneered and exposed her on the spot. What engagement? Her niece had shamelessly pestered young Master Hua, but young Master Hua hadn't even looked her in the eye. Later, something happened to young Master Hua, and her niece ran away faster than anyone else. The next year, she married a peddler, and her child is probably a few years old now. As soon as she said that, the people around her looked at her with disdain. The woman panicked and defended her niece. "Love is a matter of mutual consent. Besides, young Master Hua is crippled, and my niece is still so young. Is she going to hang herself on him for the rest of her life? Don't just stand there and talk. You speak so righteously, but if you're really not afraid, why don't you marry your daughters to him?" The few of them choked and muttered in a low voice, "Our girls have never shamelessly pestered others like your niece." Su Yiyan saw the change in everyone's expression. His eyes darkened and he stood up. Yan Xiaoran thought she was going to lose her temper. Su Yiyan ignored her and turned to look at the woman. "Thank your niece for not marrying him. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to meet someone better. I'll let it go this time, but if I hear you call him a cripple again..." Su Yian's eyes turned cold and murderous. "I'll make you a cripple." Chapter 431. Su Yiyan's sudden outburst shocked everyone present, including Yan Xiaoran. By the time she reacted, Su Yiyan had already said, "You guys take your time talking. I'm going back." She turned and left. After she walked away, the woman who had faced Su Yiyan's anger directly came to her senses. She pointed at Su Yiyan's back and asked, "What did she mean by that?" "It's literally what it means." Yan Xiaoran's expression was a bit ugly. She sneered. "You mocked her husband's disability in front of her. She was kind enough not to flip the table and slap you on the spot." "Husband?" the woman exclaimed. She's. Yan Xiaoran didn't want to waste time with her. She got up and said, "I'm a bit tired. I'm going upstairs to rest. Help yourselves." As soon as Yan Xiaoran left, the rest of the women consciously distanced themselves from the woman. The woman watched the two disappear into the distance. She couldn't help but shudder when she thought about the rumors about young Master Hua's unpredictable temperament and cruel means of revenge after being disabled. Oh no, she seemed to have gotten into big trouble. After Su Yiyan parted ways with Yan Xiaoran and the others, she ran to find Hua Chenhuan. Hua Chenhuan was talking to the father and son of the Lan family. When she saw Su Yiyan come back alone, her eyes flashed slightly. She immediately stretched out her hand in her direction. Why are you here? It's boring to be alone over there, so I came to keep you company. Hua Chenhuan didn't believe her. She looked her up and down and asked tentatively, tired? Su Yiyan was stunned. She thought about what the woman had just said and felt indescribably depressed. She lowered her eyes and said, a little. Hua Chenhuan saw that her mood was not as high as it was when she arrived. She frowned slightly and said to the father and son of the Lan family, there's something at home. We have to go back first. Yen Yen and I gave our gifts to the housekeeper before we came in. Tell Uncle Lan and Aunt Yi for me. Lan Minghan was surprised. You've only been here for a while. Why are you going back so soon? Papa Lan's gaze swept over Su Yiyan. He didn't force her to stay and only said, there are many people today. Let's have a meal together another day, just the two of us. Hua Chenhuan responded and left with Su Yiyan. As soon as the two of them left, Yan Xiaoran also came over. She did not see Su Yiyan, so she asked doubtfully, where are they? Let's go. Mr. Lan took the initiative to ask, what happened just now? I saw that Chenhuan's wife didn't look too good when she came back. Yan Xiaoran sighed and told the few of them about what had happened over there. Papa Lan and Mama Lan's faces darkened after hearing it. Master Lan and Hua Chenhuan's father were good friends. Before the accident, the two families had been in contact. Hua Chenhuan was about the same age as Lan Minghan. Although the couple and Hua Chenhuan were of the same generation, they had always regarded Hua Chenhuan as their nephew. It was rare that Hua Chenhuan was willing to take the initiative to come over to celebrate Master Lan's birthday. However, they encountered such a thing in their territory. How could they not be angry? These gossipy women love to gossip behind people's backs. Yan Xiaoran reminded her mother with a smile. Mom, they don't know the identity of Miss Su. If it weren't for the fact that they don't know, they wouldn't have said it in front of the person. They are not fools. Yan Xiaoran choked and was speechless. Mama Lan was a little worried after saying that. Do you think Miss Su will be unhappy because of this and quarrel with Chenhuan? Chapter 432. She had been isolated at home for so long and finally figured it out. She wanted to go out for a walk and change her mood. If she quarreled and went back to square one, wouldn't all her efforts be wasted? Mr. Lan frowned and comforted his wife. It shouldn't be. Didn't Chenhuan just agree to have dinner with us a few days later? Who knows what will happen in the future? If they quarrel, how can they be in the mood to eat with us? Lan Minghan also persuaded, Mom, I saw that Miss Su wasn't in a good mood just now, but she didn't lose her temper with little uncle. When little uncle left, he said that both of them brought gifts for Grandpa. It can be seen that they have a good relationship. Miss Su should be unhappy because she heard people talk about little uncle like that. Mrs. Lan's expression didn't change. She just wanted to say that Chenhuan said that both of them brought gifts, so both of them prepared gifts? Maybe he prepared the gifts for his wife because he loved her. Before he could say anything, Yan Xiaoran had already exclaimed, Gift? Gifts? Hearing Yan Xiaoran's question, they didn't doubt her and said truthfully, he said that he gave them to the housekeeper. Lan Minghan saw that she wanted to see, so he reminded her in a low voice, there are so many guests now. Wait until they leave. Although Yan Xiaoran was curious, she knew that her husband was right. She nodded and secretly guessed that Su Yiyan might have sent those precious Chinese herbs. Su Yiyan didn't let her down. When the banquet was over and the crowd dispersed, Yan Xiaoran hurriedly asked the housekeeper to send the gifts that Hua Chenhuan brought. Hua Chenhuan picked a good jade for Mr. Lan. It was warm to the touch, which was suitable for people like the old man who was afraid of the cold. In addition, he also gave a string of pearls to old Madame Lan under the pretext of giving a gift. Su Yian's gift was placed under these two things in a long box. When they opened it, they were stunned. This is... Before Mr. Lan finished speaking, Lan Minghan, and Yen Xiaoran shouted in unison, "Ginseng." The two elders were stunned. "You all know what this is?" Of course, it's a kind of Chinese medicine. It had appeared in the host's live broadcast room before. It was said to be a very, very precious Chinese medicine that could greatly replenish vitality. Even if a seriously ill patient still has a single breath left, this thing can also help to prolong their life. So magical? Father Lan looked at his second son, his eyes full of doubt. He always felt that his second son was bragging. Lan Jie could tell what his father was thinking at a glance, and he was furious. Just as he was about to argue with him, Yen Xiaoran had already taken a step forward and explained for him, although it may not be that exaggerated, but it's more or less the same effect. The data provided by the research institute couldn't be faked. It's just that it's said that the older it is, the more nutritious it is. If you really want to eat such a big tree, you might only need a little bit. You can't eat too much at once. When Mr. and Mrs. Lan heard her words, they looked at the box of ginseng with more caution. The research institute mentioned it before, so it should be true. You have to keep such a precious thing well. Seeing this, Lan Jie couldn't help but whisper, "You don't believe me when I say it, but you believe it when my brother and sister-in-law say it." Mr. Lan was amused by his words. "If you could be as sensible as your brother and sister-in-law, I would believe it too. You only know how to run around all day. You're not serious, and you still want people to believe you." Chapter 433. Lan Jie opened his mouth to refute. He wasn't running around, he was looking for a girlfriend. But then he thought that if he said that, his father might think that he was going out to pick up girls, which was also not a proper occupation. He could only shut his mouth reluctantly. When Lan Minghan heard his wife's words, he suddenly remembered that the host had mentioned the medicinal effect of this thing in the live broadcast room. He told the housekeeper, "This is good stuff. Even the research institute might not have many of them. Occasionally, when you stew soup, you can put a few pieces or a few roots in it. You have to take good care of it." The housekeeper hurriedly agreed. He suddenly felt that the hand holding the box was much heavier. Lan Jie stared at the high-quality ginseng and spontaneously found an excuse for Su Yian. Yen must have seen this in the host's live broadcast room. He knew that this thing was precious, so he specially bought it from the host and gave it to Grandpa. The corner of Yen Xiaoran's mouth twitched. She thought, "It's not as troublesome as you think. This thing originally belonged to me." Lan Jie's mother frowned slightly and scolded her youngest son. "Is Yen someone you can call? You have no respect for your elders." Lan Jie. She clearly said that calling her aunt made her sound old, so he called her that. In the end, he still got scolded. He was really picked up from the streets. Yen Xiaoran didn't help him. She smiled faintly and said, "Mum, now you, Dad, and Grandpa and Grandma can rest assured. Miss Su is willing to give us such a precious thing. Obviously, she cares about little uncle. She knows that we treat little uncle well, so she gave such a good thing to Grandpa. Just like what Minghan said just now, she doesn't look well. It's most likely because she heard that little uncle was criticized by those gossipy women. She can't wait to feel sorry for little uncle. She won't quarrel with little uncle." "That's good." Lan Jie's mother was relieved. She secretly thought that Hua Chenhuan had suffered too much these years. If there really was someone who cared about him and loved him, it could be considered that his parents in heaven were watching over him. At that time, Su Yian, who didn't know that her bad mood was exposed, was worried that she might quarrel with Hua Chenhuan. She was really angry. While he was angry, he couldn't help but feel sorry for the people around him. Hua Chenhuan noticed that she had been staring at her since she got into the car. She asked in a low voice, "Is there anything on my face?" Su Yen shook his head. "Not feeling well?" Su Yen shook his head again. "Not in a good mood?" Su Yen shook his head and then nodded. Hua Chenhuan couldn't help laughing. "Is this good or bad?" Su Yen snorted coldly and turned his face away. Seeing her like this, Hua Chenhuan restrained the smile on her face and asked in a low voice, "What happened? Who made you unhappy?" "No one. I just followed young Madame Lan to listen to a few people's gossip. My heart is a little blocked." Hua Chenhuan's face fell completely when she heard the word gossip. "What did they say?" Su Yayan snorted and said unhappily, "They say that you, young Master Hua, used to be handsome and dashing, and the girls who liked you almost broke the threshold of your family's house." Hua Chenhuan's face stiffened slightly. She didn't expect Su Yiyen to bring this up. She said without thinking, "Don't listen to their nonsense. It's all fake." "Really? Then why did I hear that there was a girl who almost got engaged to you?" "Engaged?" Hua Chenhuan's face was full of shock. Which bastard dared to spread such rumors about him? Did they have a death wish? Chapter 434. Hua Chenhuan, who was caught off guard by the accusation, was stunned for a few seconds. He quickly expressed his loyalty and said, "Nonsense. I have never been engaged to anyone except you, and I have never liked any other woman. Don't listen to their nonsense." "Really?" "Absolutely." "Then is it true that many girls used to like you?" Hua Chenhuan choked. Su Yiyen knew it was true when she saw his reaction. She was jealous and annoyed. Hua Chenhuan was a little flustered at first. When he calmed down, he noticed that something was wrong. Su Yiyen's reaction was jealousy, but it looked more like she was really angry. "Did they also say that no girls were willing to approach me after I became disabled?" Su Yiyen froze and did not speak. Hua Chenhuan had already gotten the answer from her reaction. He breathed a sigh of relief and reached out to straighten Su Yiyen's body. "You are angry because of this, right?" Su Yiyen pursed her lips and still did not speak. Seeing her like this, Hua Chenhuan suddenly remembered what he had heard from Yu Zian. The man in front of him had beaten Hua Xiaofeng to the hospital because he had mocked him for being disabled. His heart was as soft as cotton, poking holes in it. "Isn't that good? I don't like them. I only feel annoyed when they always come to me. I am happy that they don't bother me." What Hua Chenhuan did not say was that there were still women who wanted to bother him when he was disabled. Later, he gave up because he knew that his father did not give the Hua group to him, but to Hua Qihan. However, Hua Chenhuan did not care much about this. He only cared about Su Yiyen from the beginning to the end. He used to hate his disability because he felt that he was not complete and was not worthy of Su Yiyen. Even so, Su Yiyen came to him without hesitation and walked into his life. Compared with this, nothing else mattered. Moreover, I am slowly getting better now. Soon I will not be disabled. Su Yiyen heard the first half of his words and did not like to talk. When she heard the second half, her face changed. She covered Hua Chenhuan's mouth and said, "Don't say it." "What? Don't say that word." "Okay, I won't say it." Hua Chenhuan took Su Yiyen's hand and smiled. "Who said this to you? Did you quarrel with them? Did you suffer any losses?" Su Yayan hesitated for a moment and said truthfully, "I didn't lose anything. They didn't even know who I was in the beginning." "Don't know who you are?" "Yes. At first, they were talking about Hua Qihan's family. Later, I don't know why they suddenly talked about you. One of the women said that you and her niece almost became a couple. There was another woman next to her who did not get along with her very well. She mocked her niece and said that you did not want her niece. Later, when you had an accident, she ran away faster than anyone else." When the woman heard this, she was angry and began to talk about you without thinking. Hua Chenhuan listened to the ins and outs of the matter, but laughed and teased, "You know that she is the one who is pestering me. I don't like her at all. Why are you jealous just now?" Su Yiyen was exposed and became angry out of shame. "Do you have a problem with that?" Hua Chenhuan immediately surrendered. "No, you are my wife. You should be jealous when others say this. I am also happy that you can be jealous for me." Chapter 435. Su Yiyen listened to Hua Chenhuan's kind response. She felt a little embarrassed, but she still snorted proudly. Although Hua Chenhuan liked that Su Yiyen was jealous of her, she didn't want her to be angry because of this. She comforted her at the right time. That woman is also stupid. Let's not argue with an idiot. It's bad for your health to be angry. Su Yiyen calmed down and thought about it. Wasn't this woman stupid? Putting aside the fact that her niece was only in love with him back then, even if they were in love with each other back then, her niece had already married someone else and had children. Huo Chenhuan also had his own small family, so these things should not be talked about. If this spread to the family of her niece's son-in-law and her niece's son-in-law, what would they think of her niece? Or was she taking advantage of the fact that she wasn't around and so many years had passed to give her niece the title of a former lover? Who was she trying to disgust? Su Yiyen thought about it and felt that there was only one possibility, and that was, what's wrong? Huo Chenhuan saw Su Yiyen suddenly raise her head and stare at her faintly. Her heart trembled, for fear that she would say something shocking again. Su Yiyen shook her head and said earnestly, "Nothing. I just suddenly thought of a saying." "What saying?" "Money moves people's hearts." These women dared to openly mock Huo Qihan's family and elevate Huo Chenhuan. On the one hand, it was because Huo Qihan's family had suffered a big setback recently. On the other hand, it was nothing more than seeing that Huo Chenhuan had a good relationship with the Lan family. They wanted to build a relationship with the Lan family through Huo Chenhuan. To put it bluntly, what was tempting was never the person, but the hidden benefits behind the person. If that's the case, you don't have to worry. Su Yiyen looked at him in confusion. "I'm just a gigolo who depends on my wife. If you don't pay me a salary, I won't even have the money to support my family. What else is there for them to covet?" Su Yiyen thought about it for a while. That seemed to be the case. Needless to say, the feeling of being in control of the family's finances was really great. Su Yiyen, who was a little confused by the sugar-coated bullet of money, suddenly looked better. Then she saw her man's face, and her face suddenly became serious again. She said earnestly, "Beauty can also move people's hearts." Su Yiyen even touched Huo Chenhuan's face like a dandy who was flirting with a man from a good family. "Just like me, what I fancy is your beauty." Fortunately, the front and back seats of the car had soundproof glass, which perfectly isolated the two people's voices. Otherwise, if the driver in front heard Su Yiyen's words, he would have driven the car into a ditch. Perhaps because she had been flirted with too many times during this period, Huo Chenhuan was no longer blushing like before. When she heard Su Yiyen's words, she even smiled and replied, "No matter how their hearts are moved, it's useless. They will only be yours." Su Yiyen. Her skin had become thick-skinned. She was not as easy to flirt with as before. However, these words were quite pleasant to hear, so she reluctantly let it go. "That's more like it. Remember what you said. No matter if it's your money or your beauty, you must not pick the wildflowers outside." Seeing that Su Yiyen was no longer angry with those people, Huo Chenhuan's eyes also had a little more smile. However, this smile did not last long, and was replaced by coldness. Although he comforted Su Yiyen not to take those words to heart, he did not intend to let off the woman who gossiped and hurt Su Yiyen. Chapter 436. Su Yiyen didn't know the twists and turns in Huo Chenhuan's mind. After returning from the Lan family, she began to nervously prepare for class. To be precise, she had started preparing for the class a few days ago. However, the day before the class, she had forgotten all about her confidence and knowledge. All that was left was nervousness. Huo Chenhuan saw her panic. He felt distressed, jealous, and amused. "You're just going to teach a few brats. Do you have to be so nervous?" "Brats? Some of them are older than me and even you. You're really not embarrassed to call them brats." Su Yiyen suddenly remembered that Yi Qiliang seemed to have said before that he would bring some elders to sit in on the class. So, the brats that Huo Chenhuan mentioned were most likely older than her father. "Since they are older than you, why do they want to listen to the class of a young person like you?" Su Yiyen choked and glared at him angrily. Huo Chenhuan didn't get angry. He said with a good temper, "Since they invited you to be a lecturer, it means that you must have the ability to convince them. Don't be afraid. Relax." Su Yiyen wasn't comforted at all. She lay on the bed and was very depressed. "This is the first time I'm teaching people. The first time is unfamiliar, the second time is familiar. I'm worried that I won't teach well and will mislead the students. If I remember correctly, you seem to be the only one who knows these things. Even if you teach wrong things, no one should know, right? Although Huo Chenhuan was curious about why Su Yiyan suddenly knew how to cook and cure diseases, everyone had their own secrets, just like he had his own secrets. Blindly getting to the bottom of things wasn't necessarily a good thing sometimes. As long as she was still Su Yiyan, the one he loved deeply, that was enough. Your thinking is a little dangerous. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. Huo Chenhuan patted Su Yiyan's head and comforted her softly. You're not a doctor, so you don't have to tie the right and wrong to yourself. Even doctors can't save all living beings. Su Yiyan thought about it and felt that it made sense. The master can lead you through the door, but the cultivation depends on the individual. It's naturally good if he learns well, but if he doesn't, there are many other things he can do. No one said that if he learns something from you, he has to apply it in the future. You're right. So, don't be too nervous. Just treat it as a meeting for your company's employees. You make it sound so easy. Huo Chenhuan looked at her and smiled meaningfully. If you're so nervous that you can't sleep, let's do something to help you sleep tonight. What's good for my sleep? After saying that, Su Yiyan realized that something was wrong. She stared at Huo Chenhuan for a long time, then rolled to the side and pulled up the quilt to cover herself. Huo Chenhuan's eyes deepened when he saw that. He smiled and said, "Are you hinting that I can do whatever I want to you?" A buzzing voice came from under the quilt, and it sounded a little angry. "For your head you can't. Then when can I?" The person under the quilt was silent for a moment, then she pretended to be calm and replied, "I'm asleep. I didn't hear anything just now." After saying that, she seemed to feel that her tone wasn't very good, so she added in a low voice, "We'll talk about it later." Huo Chenhuan looked at the little bump on the bed, smiled, and said in a hoarse voice, "When I'm completely recovered." Chapter 437. Su Yiyan knew exactly what he had left out. She hid under the blanket and blushed like a cooked shrimp, but she did not dare to poke her head out of the blanket. The two of them spent the night peacefully. The next morning, Su Yiyan hurriedly left the house before Huo Chenhuan woke up. She naively thought that she could avoid the awkward topic by doing this. However, she did not know that not long after she left, Huo Chenhuan came downstairs. "Young master, should I ask someone to follow young madam to school?" "You don't have to follow her too closely. Just make sure she's safe." Zui Yanbai nodded and immediately asked someone to follow her. Su Yiyan had expected Yi Qiliang to personally come and pick her up, given how much he valued her. However, she had not expected that other than Yi Qiliang, the principal of a university would also come to pick her up. She also did not expect that the classroom, which she thought would be empty, would be filled with more than 50 people. Half of them were young people in their early 20s, while the other half were old people who were about the same age as Yi Qiliang. Su Yiyan, even though the number of people present was less than the number of people attending a small class, Su Yiyan could not help but feel nervous. Before she could speak, Yi Qiliang's face darkened. He shouted at the old people who occupied the front row, "What are you doing here?" Su Yiyan was stunned. She looked at Yi Qiliang blankly. "Didn't you call these people over?" The principal, who was standing next to Yi Qiliang, scanned the crowd and frowned. "Old Chow, Old Gu, and the rest of you. Why are you here instead of staying in your school?" Su Yiyan? It seemed that some of these old people were not from the school. No wonder they all came together. If one did not know better, they would have thought that this was some kind of senior training school. The few of them did not panic when they were called out by the former principal and Yi Qiliang. They stood up and said, "Old Yi, this is your fault. Why didn't you tell us about such a good thing? Tell me, are you planning to hide him here? You're not being honest." "Bullshit, what's there to hide? I was the one who personally invited him here. You guys don't have the ability or the opportunity to do so, yet you're still trying to twist the facts and accuse me of wrongdoing. Don't think that I don't know what you're thinking. You want to pick up something ready-made? No way." When they saw Yi Qiliang's firm attitude, They looked at each other and decisively shifted their attention to Su Yiyan. Their eyes lit up. As soon as Su Yiyan met the gazes of these people, an ominous premonition arose in his heart. Before she could hide, this group of gray-haired old people had already rushed up to her like sprinters. They held her hand and said in an incomparably familiar manner, "You're the broadcaster who donated the Chinese medicine seeds to the research institute, right? I didn't expect you to be so young and so good-looking. You're really a young hero." Su Yiyan. That doesn't seem to be the right way to describe him. Hello, everyone. Su Yiyan really did not know how to deal with these unfamiliar old people. She could only politely and awkwardly greet them. Just as she did not know how to continue, Yi Qiliang had already taken a step forward and pushed their hands away. He stood in front of Su Yiyan to protect her. Like a hen protecting a chick in front of an eagle, he shouted at the old people, "What are you doing? What are you doing? You're already so old, yet you're still trying to get physical with a young girl. You're an old pervert, aren't you ashamed?" Chapter 438. After being yelled at by Yi Qiliang, they realized that they had indeed lost their composure. They said embarrassedly, "We didn't mean anything by it. We were just too excited." Yi Qiliang snorted coldly and still refused to move aside. Su Yiyan saw that these people clearly knew Yi Qiliang. She glanced at them and finally asked, "Professor Yi, these people are?" When Yi Qiliang heard Su Yiyan's question, his entire body stiffened and he said awkwardly, "They are professors from another university's pharmacy department." "Why would professors from another university's pharmacy department come to your university?" Yi Qiliang opened his mouth and was about to explain when one of them interrupted, "We're here because of you." "Because of me?" Su Yiyan raised her eyebrows and seemed to sense something. "How did you know that I was coming?" It's all my fault." Unexpectedly, the person who apologized was Yi Qiliang. It turned out that after Su Yiyan accepted his invitation, this old professor was so happy that he couldn't find his bearings. In order to vent his joy and show off, he posted this incident on his WeChat moments. In the end, this shot had attracted all of them. Yi Qiliang was now so regretful that his intestines almost turned green. He wished he could travel back in time and chop off those restless hands of his. After his explanation, Su Yiyan was embarrassed. She looked at these uninvited spectators, and the corners of her mouth twitched as she said, "Gentlemen, this is a university. It's not good for you to come here so openly to freeload, right? What's not good about it?" Their gazes shifted to the principal of a university. When the principal first saw these people, he was so angry that he lost his mind. Now that he had calmed down and was being stared at by these famous professors who were several years older than him, he broke out in a cold sweat. His tone was not as righteous as before. "It's not good to begin with. You're from another university. The guards let you in without permission. I'll have to settle the score with them in a while, let alone listen to a lecture here. You guys didn't apply to me." The more he said, the colder their gazes became. The old principal braced himself and held on. This precedent could not be set. Putting aside the fact that Yi Qiliang had begged for Miss Su for a long time to get her, even if it was just a normal class taught by an ordinary teacher in the school, without any application from his side, people from other schools could come and listen as they wished. Furthermore, it was right under his nose as the principal. If news of this were to spread, where would his face be? Seeing the old principal like this, they knew that it was impossible to persuade him. They looked at each other and seemed to have made up their minds. "It's fine as long as they're from your school, right? How did you come to this conclusion?" I didn't say anything, don't mess around." Sure enough, in the next second, he heard a few people say, "Today, we will resign and then come to your school to apply. Today, let us freeload." The old principal was speechless. Could he refuse? If those old fellows knew that he had poached them, wouldn't they eat him alive? No, this wasn't right. They had clearly come here on their own accord. Su Yiyan was a little speechless when she saw their shameless behavior. She coughed lightly and reminded them, "My class is not open to anyone from a university, Before she could finish speaking, she was interrupted again. Isn't it just a guarantee? Well, sign it. Sign it, sign it, sign it right away. Su Yiyen was speechless. What was wrong with these people? They even knew about this. Chapter 439. Yi Qilyang and the old principal were also quite surprised. They immediately reacted and looked at the students in the classroom. As expected, they were met with guilty and helpless looks. With so many big shots asking them, even if these people weren't their teachers, they didn't dare to not answer. The old principal and Yi Qilyang were speechless. You traitors, don't even think about graduating. Yi Qilyang's face was as black as the bottom of a pot. Don't go too far. How are we going too far? It's just that. The person was about to say that they were just here to freeload, but then he remembered that this class wasn't for just anyone. Worried that Su Yiyen would find them unreasonable and insatiable, the old professor wisely stopped talking and looked at Su Yiyen pitifully. The others also subconsciously looked at Su Yiyen, their eyes full of anxiety and pleading. Su Yiyen, who had always been amenable to coaxing but not coercion, was speechless. Ahem, it's not impossible for you to stay, but there are conditions. Sign the contract? Well, sign it. Sign it, sign it, sign it right away. As long as we can stay, we'll do anything. Su Yiyen was speechless. Sign it, what do you mean sign it? If I give you a slave contract, who will you cry to after you sign it? But on second thought, this group of people had already planned to resign and apply for a job in order to freeload. Signing a slave contract or something like that wasn't impossible. Su Yiyen was full of complaints and didn't know who to talk to. In the end, she watched this group of people sign the guarantee, agreeing to let them stay and freeload. After a chaotic episode, Su Yiyen was finally able to officially start teaching. At this time, more than half of the class time had passed. Su Yiyen's eyes turned and she went straight to the point. Hello everyone, I'm the lecturer of Chinese medicine. My surname is Miss Su. You can call me Miss Su. We may meet often in the future. I hope everyone can get along well. Is there a problem with me? As soon as Su Yiyen finished speaking, a boy raised his hand and asked, Why is it Miss Su and not Teacher Su? That's because my educational background may not be as high as some of you. If you call me teacher, I'll feel burdened. Also, Su Yiyen paused and winked playfully at everyone. I'm younger than all of you. If you call me teacher, I'll feel old. Everyone present. They felt the blow of age. Back to the topic, let's talk about what traditional Chinese medicine looks like in your eyes. The room fell silent for a moment. In the end, Yi Qilyang asked tentatively, medicine based on Chinese herbs? Su Yiyen glanced around and said with a faint smile, Is there any other answer? Don't be nervous. I know that you guys don't know much about this. If you guys are wrong, I won't laugh at you. No one said anything. Su Yiyen didn't say anything right or wrong. He continued to ask, Then what are Chinese medicinal herbs in everyone's eyes? I know this. It's plants. I've seen it in the host's live broadcast room. It's fresh or dried plants. Peng Jiaji said excitedly. Then the expression on his face suddenly froze. Only then did he remember that this was not the live broadcast room. Su Yiyen was their teacher now, not the host. Su Yiyen glanced at the young man who spoke and felt that he was somewhat familiar. After thinking for a moment, he remembered that this person seemed to be one of the people who accompanied Yi Qilyang to find him. Chapter 440. It's not wrong for you to understand it that way. Su Yiyen gave some affirmation to his answer. Most of you are pharmaceutical students, so you should know that most of the medicine today is made up of chemical ingredients and biological agents. As for Chinese medicine, as the student said, many of them are plants, but not all of them are plants. Take bezoar for example. It is a stone in the gallbladder, bile duct, or liver duct of cattle or water buffalo, but it has the effect of clearing the heart, dissipating phlegm, promoting gallbladder, and calming shock. It also has a certain effect on children's convulsions, epilepsy, toothache, swollen throat, mouth and tongue sores, carbuncle, and other diseases. When Su Yiyen said this, The audience was in an uproar. The stone in the cow's stomach is also a Chinese medicine? Shouldn't stone be formed by the dirt in the stomach? How can it be eaten? Won't it be poisoned? The audience discussed animatedly, but Su Yan seemed to have expected this. She took a deep breath and said, "This is the reason why we want to learn this subject now. If I didn't tell you that bezoar is also an important medicine, would you have thought that the stone in the cow's stomach can be used to treat diseases?" Everyone was silent for a moment. In ancient times, Shennong tasted hundreds of herbs and left the Shennong's medicine classic. Later, Li Shizhen worked hard to compile the Compendium of Materia Medica and passed it down to the world. The purpose was to let the world understand the value of these Chinese medicine so that they can be used to treat diseases and save people. It's a pity that these precious books, along with many precious Chinese medicine, have been lost in the two migrations of mankind. I have a question. As soon as Su Yan's voice fell, someone asked, "Teacher, no, Miss Su, since most of these things have been lost, how do you know about them?" Su Yan had expected that someone would ask this question. Even if it was not the students present today, it would be someone else. Because my home happened to be one of the small parts that were preserved. Just like recipes, some were preserved in the rush of migration, but a large part was still lost. For this reason, the Research Institute developed the nutrient solution, which is convenient for the public and can also fill their stomachs. The planet they lived on was different from ancient Earth. The animals and seafood here were bigger than those on ancient Earth. Some vegetables were smaller than those on ancient Earth. That was why natural ingredients, especially vegetables, were so expensive. When humans first set foot on this land, they couldn't be sure if the plants on this planet, or even the seeds they brought with them, would mutate or be poisonous. Coupled with the loss of the recipe, the Research Institute simply came up with a nutrient solution that could extract animal and plant nutrients. However, this thing was just like compressed biscuits. It concentrated and extracted all the nutrients in the food. It could fill the stomach and also satisfy the various nutrients needed for human survival. However, it sacrificed the most important taste of the food. Even though they knew that it was cheap and easy to drink, many people still wanted to eat a delicious meal. You mean you have books related to it at home? What about those seeds? Was it also left behind by your ancestors? As soon as this question was asked, many people pricked up their ears. Obviously, the person who asked the question was not the only one who was curious. Many people were curious, but they were too embarrassed to ask before. Chapter 441. Yes, those Chinese medicine seeds were also left behind by my grandfather's family. It's just that they have been cultivated recently and have seen the light of day again. Why have they only been cultivated recently? Didn't you know that they were Chinese medicine seeds before? This was also the question that many people present were wondering. Su Yan smiled and continued to explain, "That's true. I grew up in my grandfather's house. My grandfather's house has a lot of books, and I like to read, so I've read most of the books in my grandfather's study. A few years ago, I happened to see a few books related to Chinese medicine in my grandfather's study. Because of this, my family and I speculated that one of our ancestors might have been an expert or doctor in the field of Chinese medicine. Medical books were not like cookbooks. Most people would buy a cookbook and follow it back to improve their daily diet. As for medical books, one couldn't just buy one when one was sick and compare it to treat oneself, right? The best explanation was that one of the ancestors had been involved in this field, so it was more likely that such things would appear in the family and be preserved until now. Yi Qiliang had a deep understanding of this. The book that mentioned Chinese medicine was also found in his family's study. Although it was only a few words, it made him very curious and changed his fate. After reading these books, I developed a new interest in traditional Chinese medicine. I searched through many things left by my ancestors in my family, and among them were the seeds of these herbs. This made me even more certain that my ancestors must have been engaged in a profession related to traditional Chinese medicine. Su Yan lied without blushing, and no one doubted her. After all, the Great Migration was like wandering without a fixed place to stay. At that time, People would think most about how to save their own lives. At that time, who would want to drag these things along with them, other than those who were really involved in this field? Who else could it be? When I first found these seeds, I didn't directly hand them over to the research institute because I wasn't sure if they could still be grown after such a long time. Later, it was confirmed that they could be grown, and the finished product was indeed as described in the book. My family funded the research institute to start the research and planting of these seeds. I believe that in the near future, these things that have disappeared will be able to be popularized again and play their role. When Su Yiyan said this, the classroom was shocked for a moment, followed by a burst of warm applause. A few seconds later, another person suddenly raised his hand. I have a question. Speak. Just like Professor Yi, I've watched your live stream and I think you're very, very good. But you just said that you came across those books by chance a few years ago, and you only started to grow these things in recent years. Also, you're not that old now. Does this mean that as long as we study seriously, in a few years, we can also? Su Yiyan was a little dizzy from the way the other party addressed her. She almost thought that the person standing in front of her and asking her questions was not a student, but an entertainment reporter. After a while, she smiled again and said with some pride, if you study seriously, you will definitely gain something, but I can't guarantee that you will be like me. After all, talent is very important. Personally, I think I have inherited some of my ancestors' talent in this aspect. Everyone, F***CK, they felt the malice coming from the top student towards the bottom student. Chapter 442. Su Yiyan saw that the room was a little quiet, so he raised his head and glanced at everyone. Is there anything else you want to ask? If not, we'll continue with the lesson. No one spoke. Su Yiyan continued. To learn Chinese medicine, besides learning how to distinguish Chinese herbs, you also have to learn how to diagnose diseases. Just like when you go to see a doctor, the doctor has to determine what illness you have before he can prescribe the right medicine. Unlike the doctors nowadays who use instruments to diagnose diseases, Chinese medicine emphasizes on looking, smelling, asking, and feeling the pulse. A good Chinese medicine doctor can tell what's wrong with your body just by looking with his eyes. Just by looking with his eyes? Yi Qiliang could not help but recall the last time he went to the shop to look for Su Yiyan. Su Yiyan had also identified the symptoms of his two students at a glance. Although the symptoms of these two students were indeed obvious on the surface, he was more curious about, can you tell what's wrong with the body just by looking at the surface? When Su Yiyan saw that the person who asked this question was Yi Qiliang, he quickly understood what he meant. He smiled faintly and said, that girl from before had an internal problem, which was why she showed it by burping. However, this is indeed a relatively obvious way of showing it. There are also some that are relatively less obvious. Who is not feeling well now or recently? Are you willing to come up and give me a demonstration? Only those who are not feeling well can do it? It's fine if you don't. Some diseases were not obvious, and it was possible that even people themselves did not notice it. As soon as Su Yiyan said this, everyone was eager to give it a try, especially the few old people in the front row. They couldn't wait to rush up immediately. Seeing this, Su Yiyan simply pointed at one of them. This way down, the girl on the left of the fourth row. Yes, you don't have to look around. It's you. Are you willing to come up and help me? The girl who was pointed at by Su Yiyan was stunned for a moment. Immediately, she showed a confused expression as if she was absent-minded in class and was suddenly called by the head teacher. In the end, she staggered to the front under the reminder of her friends. The girl stood in front of Su Yiyan and stuttered. Don't be nervous, relax. The girl was a little shy. She nodded awkwardly and lowered her head slightly, not knowing what to do. Su Yiyan held her hand and said in a gentle tone, the so-called look is to look at a person's 5 sense organs. There is a simple formula. The liver governs the eyes, the heart governs the tongue, the spleen governs the mouth, the lungs governs the nose, and the kidneys governs the ears. Simply put, I can tell if your liver is sick from your eyes. The tongue corresponds to the heart, the mouth corresponds to the spleen, the nose to the lungs, and the ears to the kidneys. As Su Yiyen spoke, she carefully sized up the man's facial features, while the people below recorded down her words. But there is one thing that needs to be noted here. The tongue is different from the tongue coating. The tongue corresponds to the heart, while the tongue coating corresponds to the spleen and stomach. Su Yiyen said to the girl, "Open your mouth and stick your tongue out a little." The girl's face was slightly red. She opened her mouth and only stuck her tongue out a little. It seemed that this was her limit in public. Su Yiyen didn't make things difficult for her. After all, she still needed to take her pulse. The tongue coating is a little white. It means that your spleen and stomach are cold and you need to nourish your stomach. Do you have an irregular diet and like to eat cold things? Chapter 443. The girl was slightly startled and asked tentatively, "Cold stuff? Frozen nutrient solution. Does it count?" The girl was a little embarrassed when she heard that. She just felt that the nutrient solution didn't taste very good. She happened to hear that the frozen nutrient solution would taste better, so she tried it. In the end, she found that the frozen nutrient solution did taste a lot better. She was used to chilling it before drinking it, but she didn't expect, "You're afraid of the cold in winter and often have stomach pains?" The people below subconsciously pricked up their ears to listen to the girl's answer. Yes. Su Yiyen didn't continue to ask. Instead, he continued, "Other than the facial features and tongue coating, the condition of your internal organs can also be seen from your face and the phlegm you spit out when you cough. But for you, it's still too early to talk about this. If you're curious, you can go to the hospital and stay for a while. There are all kinds of patients there. You can try to analyze their symptoms from their appearance. There's nothing better than practice to make people grow." Su Yiyen added as he was particularly worried, "Of course, what I mean is that you only need to look at them with your eyes. Don't do anything unnecessary. Otherwise, it's a small matter if you get beaten up, but misdiagnosis is not a joke." When Su Yiyen said that, the people couldn't help but laugh. Next is smell. Other than smell, you can also listen to the sound. Different patients with different diseases have different breaths when they talk and breathe, such as high and low, strong and weak, clear and turbid, and slow. For example, the person in front of you, her breaths belong to the weaker type. She breathes in slowly and exhales slowly. From this, you can tell that her body is cold and her constitution is weak. She needs more nourishment and recuperation. When Su Yiyen said that, the people were stunned again. Everyone's eyes subconsciously focused on the girl. Especially the old people in front whose ears were not very sensitive, they couldn't help but move closer to her. They wanted to hear if her breathing was really as Su Yiyen said, that it scared the girl so much that she couldn't help but step back and her breathing became chaotic. Su Yiyen saw this and coughed lightly, trying to pull the people's attention back. Let me give you another example. Everyone should know about asthma. How can you distinguish between the breathing of an ordinary person and asthma? Asthma. In addition to wheezing, there was also a key word, roaring. In Chinese medicine, the roar refers to the shortness of breath, but the throat actually makes a short, low cry, which often appears at the end of every breath. Because of this, Su Yiyen knew that Ning Siyuan had asthma when he first met him. If you have someone with asthma around you, you can go back and observe them carefully to see if what I said is true. Next is to ask. This is literally what it means. We have to ask about the patient's physical conditions so that we can prescribe the right medicine. Don't underestimate this. Consultation often requires the patient to have complete trust in the doctor before they can tell you everything. Some patients who are afraid of treatment will not only not tell you, but may even lie. This may interfere with your judgment and affect the follow-up treatment. Su Yiyen did not go into too much detail about this. The last one is about feeling the pulse. You can confirm the illness by feeling the pulse. As soon as Su Yiyen said this, the old people in the front row stood up together and rushed to the front of the podium to take a closer look at the so-called pulse reading. Chapter 444. The girl who was called up was startled and wanted to run away by reflex. Su Yan was a little helpless and glanced at everyone warningly. Stay away from her. Otherwise, she will be too nervous and her heart will go out of order. If I take her pulse later, it will be easy to make mistakes. The expressions of the 10 or 20-year-old professors who could be Su Yan's grandparents froze when they heard this. They touched their noses embarrassedly and took a few steps back to give the two of them space. Only then did the girl breathe a sigh of relief and gradually calm down. Sit down and give me your hand. The girl nodded and sat down on the chair beside the podium and handed her hand over. Everyone in the classroom stared at the two people on the podium. After about a minute, Su Yan frowned and said, "You came to class without eating in the morning?" The girl was stunned and carefully nodded and replied, "Stomachache? Yes, a little. Cold stomach, weak spleen, excessive liver heat, and have been staying up late recently?" The girl nodded and there was an uproar in the classroom. He actually hit the nail on the head. It's easy to get heaty if you stay up late and come here without eating in the morning. It's normal for your stomach to hurt. It's easy to get your heaty down, but your liver heat is just an appearance. Your cold stomach is the real problem. If you only think of ways to get your heaty down but don't take care of your stomach, you will only be treating the symptoms and not the root cause. Su Yan seemed to have thought of something and said, "Your body is weak to begin with. Drinking cold things for a long time can be a big or small problem. You should pay more attention in the future." The girl nodded hurriedly. "I won't drink frozen nutrient solution in the future." After being hit on several of her body's problems, the girl was now convinced by Su Yan's words. "How can I take care of my stomach? Eat more porridge and soup to nourish your stomach. If you don't mind, you can also come to my shop. The people there will recommend medicinal cuisine suitable for your body." Su Yan paused for a moment, then coughed softly and said, "It's fine if you cook it yourself. Cook some millet porridge from time to time. Eat regularly every day. Don't eat breakfast and lunch together, and don't always eat raw and cold food." The girl nodded as she began to plan how to get to Su Yan's shop. She had heard that the store only had 200 slots per day, and the demand was not enough to meet the demand. The reservations had already been lined up for half a year. She wondered if they could open a back door for her on account of her relationship with the store manager. The girls cooperated with Su Yan and went down from the stage after the class. The few old people in the front row who were eyeing covetously finally found an opportunity. One by one, they came forward and wanted Su Yan to take a look at them. Su Yan. Although most of these old professors had retired, they were still in their original positions. From time to time, he would give a few classes to the students and analyze the composition of drugs in the laboratory. He was a rare living treasure in the entire department and also the living signboard of the school. Most of these people were equipped with a good medical system. They would check their bodies regularly every day so that they could be aware of their own physical condition at any time. To put it bluntly, these people knew their own physical condition like the back of their hands. They wanted Su Yan to take a look at them because they wanted to experience the magic of Chinese medicine and satisfy their curiosity. Su Yan understood this. Of course, she would not allow them to mess up a good class. She finally persuaded them to leave after much persuasion. Chapter 445. Since it was her first class, Su Yan did not plan on stuffing them with too many things. She only prepared some basic theoretical knowledge and prepared 10 types of Chinese herbs such as Chinese knotweed, red dates, astragalus, angelica, and so on. She wanted everyone to see these things with their own eyes to understand the medicinal properties and effects of these things. When Yi Qiliang and the others saw these things, their eyes turned red. They wished they could throw away their pride and rush up to the podium to pick up the Chinese herbs and do a 100-meter sprint. However, they could not snatch them, but they could still take a few more glances. Yi Qiliang looked at his colleagues, who had their eyes glued to the medicinal herbs. He was a little disgusted but also a little proud. No matter how much they pretended on the outside, when they saw these things, their true colors would be revealed. They were already so old, yet they were still so inexperienced. How embarrassing. In the end, he had the foresight to invite Miss Su to be their lecturer. In the future, wouldn't they be able to see as many Chinese herbs as they wanted? At that time, Yi Qiliang had clearly forgotten his reaction when he saw these Chinese herbs in the live broadcast room. His reaction was no better than these people's. There was not much content in the morning's class, but it allowed these laymen to step foot in front of the door. It also made these people sincerely convinced of Su Yiyan as their temporary lecturer. These people were chosen to attend the class. Although they said they were interested in this subject, in reality, they were just curious. After all, there was a lack of literature, so what Su Yiyan said was still very unfamiliar to them. However, after this morning's class, many people were already yearning for the things that Su Yiyan described. They also had more respect and curiosity for Su Yiyan as their teacher. Su, are you really younger than all of us? How old are you this year? What the hell is Su? Look at how young I look. How can I be older than all of you? As for my exact age, don't you know that it's very impolite to ask a girl's age? Su, what does your family do? Is there anyone who is also involved in medical research? Is it a medical family? My family is just an ordinary family. The father is kind and the son is filial. It's harmonious and happy. There's nothing much to say. Teacher, you're so young. I don't think you have a boyfriend yet, right? What do you think of me? I'm the school hunk of our school. Everyone? Su Yiyan? Everyone's eyes focused on the person who spoke. After a few seconds of dead silence, someone shouted angrily, Yenju, you shameless bastard. School your sister's grass. You're the school's grass? I'm the most handsome person in the world. Is Yen? You're the campus hunk of a university? I think you're more like a dog's tail. If word gets out, you'll embarrass a university. That's right. If you're the school hunk, then wouldn't I be the market hunk? If people from other schools hear this, they'll think that all the boys in a university are ugly and that no one can find a girlfriend. Let's see if we won't kill you. Su Yiyan listened to everyone's impassioned criticism and was dumbfounded. This so-called school hunk had not been officially recognized, and his looks were not good enough. It was no wonder that it caused a riot. However, for such a small matter, they were all full of fighting spirit. They could not wait to scold him until he prostrated himself in front of them. Sure enough, he did not have enough homework. He was too free. Chapter 446. Oblivious to the fact that they were already on Su Yiyan's blacklist and that they still had to face a lot of homework even after entering university, they were still blushing and criticizing the shameless school hunk. Yenju himself looked indifferent. He ignored the curses and said casually, I'm asking the teacher, not you. Why are you so agitated? Are you secretly in love with me and can't bear to see me confess to someone else? Everyone was shocked by his brazenness. After a while, they reacted and scolded him even more fiercely. Who's in love with you, narcissist? Beast. Stinky hooligan. Shameless. Yenju's expression did not change. He looked at Su Yiyan with a smile and said, Teacher, you haven't answered my question. I don't have a boyfriend. Su Yiyan raised her hand to show them the beautiful diamond ring on her ring finger. I have a husband. Crack. This was the sound of many people's hearts breaking. I don't believe it. It's useless if you don't believe it. Su Yiyan's face was cold. Also, I told you not to call me teacher. Since you're so disobedient, copy all the knowledge I taught you this morning 10 times and hand it in. I'll check it in the next class. If you don't complete it, Yenju subconsciously said, then what? Don't be nervous. At most, I'll ask you to come up and help with the demonstration, just like the girl on stage. Su Yiyan smiled innocently. By the way, I'll inform everyone in advance that we'll be talking about acupuncture in the next class. Acupuncture? Yi Qiliang and the others exclaimed. Their eyes were shining. They couldn't wait for Su Yiyan to start the class immediately. They were very willing to go up and do the demonstration themselves. Su Yiyan. Did these old men have masochistic tendencies? One by one, they rushed up to ask for acupuncture. She really couldn't understand how their minds worked. Although Yenju didn't know what acupuncture was, when he saw the reaction of these old professors, he suddenly felt a chill down his spine. He had a faint premonition that this was definitely something very dangerous and terrifying. The chaos between classes was just a harmless interlude, so Su Yiyan didn't take it to heart. Little did they know that not long after that, everything that happened between them was replayed in front of Huo Chenhuan. Someone confessed to Yan Yan in public? Although it was only a morning class, I can tell that young madam is very popular among the students, especially the male students. Outstanding women were popular, and beautiful women with good temperament could easily become the center of attention wherever they went. Zui Yanbai could clearly see that their young madam had attracted the attention of many boys as soon as she entered the classroom. Not to mention, when she was speaking on the podium, she was simply a shining body of light. Although the young madam's frank words might have dissuaded some people, it might not be able to dissuade everyone. It was hard to guarantee that there would be 1 or 2 people who would not give up. Huo Chenhuan's eyes flashed when she heard his words, but her expression didn't change. Got it? Have someone continue to accompany her. Zui Yanbai opened his mouth, but in the end he didn't say anything. He obeyed and turned to leave. Dun Dun, who was comfortable in Huo Chenhuan's arms, slapped Huo Chenhuan's hand. Its eyes were full of disappointment. Its master was attracting bees and butterflies outside, but its father didn't feel any sense of crisis at all. It was really worrisome. You'll regret it when you come to a green grassland. Chapter 447. After taking the picture, she gloated. Who told you to show off your love in front of this hurt little puppy? Look at you now, you deserve it. Perhaps because Su Yiyan had been busy with work, this little rascal had been taken care of by Huo Chenhuan. When they lowered their heads and looked at each other, the brain waves of a human and a dog miraculously matched. Heh! Huo Chenhuan sneered and tapped Dun Dun's little head. You don't even have a wife, how dare you laugh at me? Dun Dun, who was instantly pierced by thousands of arrows, was speechless. Dun Dun flew into a rage out of humiliation when Huo Chenhuan hit its sore spot. It jumped up forcefully while being held in Huo Chenhuan's arms, trying to use its chubby little body to crush Huo Chenhuan. Huo Chenhuan was very disdainful of this. She grabbed Dun Dun by the back of its neck and lifted this audacious puppy up. Yuan Yuan. With a low shout, the door to the study opened with a bang. A robot wearing a light pink maid dress slid in from outside. Papa, what can I do for you? QQ's soft mechanical voice sounded. It had a childish tone that was unique to children and was very cute. After confirming the relationship between Huo Chenhuan and Su Yiyan, Yuan Yuan re-entered the program and began to call Huo Chenhuan Papa. When it was at home, it spoke to the two of them more intimately than when it was with others. Take it to the living room to reflect on its mistakes for half an hour. If it doesn't cooperate, don't let it eat dinner tonight. Okay. Yuan Yuan obediently went forward to take Dun Dun. Dun Dun was stunned for a few seconds before it reacted. Its 4 limbs began to flutter non-stop. I didn't do anything wrong, I don't want to reflect on my mistakes. Sure enough, once you have a new puppy, you don't want the old one anymore. Master, come back quickly. Papa Dog and this little rascal are going to abuse me and deduct my dog food. Unfortunately, the puppy, who had yet to experience the dangers of the human world, was no match for the intelligent robot. No matter how it struggled, Roly-Poly easily carried it away. Along the way, she even said earnestly, Yuan Yuan has already told Dun Dun not to make Baba angry. Although the head of this family is Master, Papa is the second Master. Master loves Papa so much. If you two quarrel, Master will definitely help Papa. Wouldn't you be the one at a disadvantage? When Huo Chenhuan heard Yuan Yuan say that Su Yiyan loved her so much, she couldn't help but smile. No wonder Su Yiyan liked this little thing so much. This little thing was much smarter than Dun Dun. Dun Dun listened to Roly-Poly's persuasion and his strength to struggle became weaker and weaker. In the end, he gave up and gave up. Dog Daddy hurt his body, this little demon hurt his heart, and Master, forget it, Master is also in cahoots with them. There is no place for this little puppy here. Sob, sob, sob. After watching the two little guys leave the study, the smile on Huo Chenhuan's face faded. Thinking of what Zui Yanbai said, a cold light flashed in her eyes. She felt that she needed to declare her sovereignty. At that time, Su Yiyan still didn't know that everything that happened in school had been broadcasted live in front of Huo Chenhuan. After a whole morning of teaching, Su Yiyan immediately grabbed her bag from the table and ran out of the classroom after the bell rang. She didn't give the old professors any chance to pester her. Just as she got into the car and was about to go home, her phone rang. As soon as she picked it up, she heard Xia Juanxing's rare panicked voice. Yan, something happened. Chapter 448. Su Yiyan's heart suddenly thumped. What's the matter? Don't worry, make it clear. It's Luo Weibing. Something happened to Luo Weibing. Luo Weibing? Su Yiyan narrowed her eyes. Is it his former agency? Yes, they have been investigating where Luo Weibing went since the termination of the contract with him. It may be that he came to our company in the past 2 days. A large number of media and marketing accounts began to expose his dark material on a large scale this morning. Su Yiyan's eyes were slightly cold and her face was a little ugly, but she was not flustered. Luo Weibing's former agency would find trouble with Luo Weibing and their company. After all, with the company's dirty atmosphere and his former agent's temperament, it was certainly impossible to let Luo Weibing go easily. Even if they couldn't kill Luo Weibing and their company, they were bound to step on them in order to bite a piece of meat from them. What's the dark material? Do the public relations department have a response plan? Everything else is okay. It's not difficult to explain. What's more serious is that they dragged you and your man into this. What? Su Yiyan's face darkened. What's going on? It turned out that a crew suddenly appeared early this morning and angrily accused Luo Weibing of being a big shot without any contract spirit. He had already said that he would take the role of the male lead in their TV series. The crew was also full of joy. In order to cooperate with his time, they delayed the shooting for a month. As a result, when it was time to shoot, he suddenly regretted, causing the crew's shooting plan to be stranded and the loss was heavy. Later, another actress suddenly jumped out and said that she was repeatedly harassed by Luo Weibing during the cooperation with the crew. She was even forced to have sex with him. Now that she had a child, he not only refused to admit it but also asked her to abort the child herself. Otherwise, he would kill her to keep her mouth shut. After that, the so-called exposure involving Su Yiyan and Huo Chenhuan that Xia Juanxing had just said. At first, it was a photo of Su Yiyan and Luo Weibing entering and leaving the hospital together. It was claimed that Luo Weibing's contract with his former employer had expired a few days ago, but had not been renewed. The reason was that Luo Weibing had a relationship with the current person in charge of Dongqing, Miss Su, who had scolded the young master of Huo Group and his mistress not long ago. The exposure pointed out that the two went in and out of the hospital together, they were intimate, and they seemed to go to the obstetrics and gynecology department. It implied that the relationship between the two and the relationship was not simple, and it was likely that there had been an affair's child's an affair product. After reading the news, Luo Weibo. Weibo. These black-hearted media outlets were best at reading pictures and writing stories. No matter what the truth was, as long as they could attract traffic, they would naturally do whatever they could to break the news. Luo Weibing's fans naturally did not believe that their brother was such a person. They helped to clarify that Luo Weibing's family had a patient in the hospital and that it was very likely that he and Su Yiyan had met by chance in the hospital. But the first 2 pieces of black material had been previewed before this, making people think that Luo Weibing's character was problematic. Some passers-by who didn't know the truth had been led astray, and a large wave of water army and anti-fans were leading the rhythm in it. The clarification and rebuttal remarks were quickly drowned by a series of bad comments on the screen, such as cursing Luo Weibing for being a big shot, sleeping with a female star, being kept by a married man and intervening in other people's marriage, betraying his old employer who had been kind to him, etc. Chapter 449. However, this was not the climax of the whole incident. Su Yayan, an inspirational figure who had angrily ripped apart the scumbag's mistress some time ago, suddenly fell from grace overnight and was labeled as a shameless slut who cheated on her husband. Many people were very curious about the identity of the husband who had suddenly been cuckolded. Immediately, someone took the initiative to expose that Miss Su's new husband was the uncle of the family who was young master who had previously been scolded as a scumbag. The person who was originally going to marry the nephew had suddenly married the uncle. She had changed from a fiancée to an aunt. Many people had already imagined the drama of a wealthy family in their minds. The onlookers loved to watch a good show. In addition to watching the drama in the entertainment industry, they also loved to watch the scandals of wealthy families and property wars. From the intricate relationship between Su Yiyan, Hua Chenhuan, and Hua Xiaofeng, many people already had a preconceived notion that this matter was not as simple as it appeared on the surface. When Su Yiyan saw this, she vaguely felt a trace of strangeness. She felt that the person behind this had a very high possibility that she was not the only target. Sure enough, about half an hour after that, another insider revealed that Miss Su's husband was actually disabled and had long lost the ability to reproduce. If Su Yan was pregnant, then this child must have been the product of an affair. When this revelation came out, many people were shocked. They were even more certain that Miss Su had married the family Hua's young master on the spur of the moment and that she had a very good motive for having an affair. Some men with cancer who were not used to Su Yiyan's previous insults immediately began to mock and ridicule her. When I saw this woman scolding the family Hua's young master before, I thought she was very powerful. Didn't she rely on marrying that rotten old man to dare to straighten her back? If you ask me, this woman only wanted to climb up the social ladder and did not succeed, so she flew into a rage out of humiliation and found trouble with young Master Hua. Young Master Hua is also pitiful. A good second-generation rich man's reputation was ruined because of her, and he even lost his inheritance rights. Calling her a vicious woman is already a compliment. Previously, when I saw her scolding that scumbag and mistress, I quite liked her. Now, it seems that she's just a so-so. These rich people are not good people. Each one of them knows how to play. They are a nest of snakes and rats. It's disgusting. He's right. Miss Su looks like she's only in her early 20s, and young Master Hua is also in his early 20s. Uncle Hua must be at least 40 or 50 this year, right? An old man with a handicap. I could already picture him old and ugly. She still wants to marry him? You're telling me that it's true love. I'm afraid he doesn't love money. Hua Chenhuan was not a celebrity in the entertainment industry whose photos were all over the streets. Moreover, he had not been out much since the accident. The netizens could not find any information about him or a photo of him. Based on his identity as Hua Xiaofeng's uncle, they were certain that he was an old man about the same age as Hua Qihan. They were certain that Su Yiyan had married Hua Xiaofeng's uncle to take revenge on him. However, after marriage, she could not bear to live with such a person, so she could not help but have an affair, which led to the current situation. After Su Yiyan finished reading these self-righteous analysis posts and the personal attacks on her and Hua Chenhuan from the random passers-by below, she was so angry that she almost smashed her phone. It was fine if these people were scolding her, but they were scolding her husband. It was fine if they were scolding her husband, but they were saying that he was old and ugly, and that he was a crippled old man. Damn old man. Have you ever seen such a young and handsome old man? Chapter 450. Su Yiyan was so angry that she immediately called Gu Xiaoyang. When Gu Xiaoyang received Su Yiyan's call, he thought that she was asking them for help because of the things on the internet. She wanted them to help her fight the internet water army like they had done several times before. Unexpectedly, as soon as the call was connected, he heard Su Yiyan ask, "Has the commercial of Fantasy Feast been released?" Fantasy Feast was the holographic online game named after the two of them. It was composed of homophones from each of their names. Gu Xiaoyang was startled and said truthfully, "Not yet. It was originally scheduled to be released tomorrow." One day earlier, Release it now. Give me a copy of the commercial. We'll interact with each other later to make the topic hot. Didn't they want to make their artists disappear? Come on, she was not afraid of them. Today, she would show them what it meant to be a top star. Gu Xiaoyang had no objection to Su Yiyen's order. He even tried to comfort her when he heard Su Yiyen's tone. Young madam, don't care too much about the bad comments on the internet. We'll help you deal with it as soon as possible. The legal departments of your company and several of our companies are already preparing for it. As soon as Gu Xiaoyang finished speaking, Su Yiyen said angrily, I know. These people are just jealous of Huan's beauty. A group of sour chickens. If I don't slap their faces swollen, my surname is not Su. After Su Yiyen finished speaking, she hung up the phone, leaving Gu Xiaoyang standing there in a daze, his face full of doubt. Huan? Beauty? Was young madam mad because of the vicious curses on the internet? Speaking of beauty, shouldn't young madam be the one? If young master heard this, he would be killed. Of course, he would be killed, not young madam. Understanding this, Gu Xiaoyang silently closed his mouth and pretended that he had heard nothing. As soon as Su Yiyen gave the order, the commercial of Fantasy Feast was released immediately. As a new account that had just been registered, not many people paid attention to it. The commercial did not receive much attention when it was released. Until Su Yiyen logged into her official account, reposted and commented on the advertisement. Huan's little Susu. My husband is the most handsome person in the world. I won't accept any rebuttals. Thank you. For those who said that my husband is old and ugly, I suggest that you poke your eyes out. The ophthalmology hospital can no longer save you. As for cripples, if a person could be described as crippled during treatment for a leg injury, then there wouldn't be many able-bodied people in this world. Also, you don't have to worry about those who are cursing our artists. If your main character turns into an ice cube, our artists won't either. Originally, everyone had been keeping a close eye on the public accounts of those involved because of the scandals. When they saw Su Yiyen appear, the onlookers and the internet water army immediately rushed over. The troll army didn't care about what you posted. They just copied and pasted it, crying and cursing. They couldn't wait to drag out all 18 generations of Su Yiyen's ancestors and curse them. The onlookers saw her response first and felt that her tone was too arrogant. They rolled up their sleeves and were about to scold her when they saw the two pictures attached to the response. The background of the picture was a beautiful seaside manor. There were a lot of blue roses planted in the manor. In front of the roses, a young girl was holding a big bouquet of blue roses and kissing a young man in a wheelchair. The picture was harmonious and warm. It was so beautiful that it could only appear in a fairy tale. Chapter 451. Although this picture was beautiful, it only captured the sides of their faces. It did not allow the crowd to see Huan's front, so it was difficult to distinguish his looks. The second picture was different. The background of the second picture was still the same small manor. The girl reached out to pick the beautiful blue roses, while the young man sat a few steps away from her. His gentle smile softened the young man's handsome facial features that had matured and carried a little aggressiveness. The affection in his eyes even poked the hearts of many girls at once. This scene was incomparable to the saying, "You look at the scenery, and he looks at you." The warm sunlight shone on the two of them, and it was as beautiful as a painting. Burp. The crowd, who had come in to scold them, was forced to eat a lot of dog food, and they were full. F***ck, is this the little uncle of the family Hua? Who said that he was old and ugly? With such good looks and old and ugly, shouldn't those men who can't be celebrities apologize with their lives? I love this little brother. It's a pity that he doesn't debut with such good looks. I want to debut. Superficial woman, you only know how to look at the face. Can't you see that the relationship between the young couple is so good? Eyes can't lie. Didn't you see that when the two of them looked at each other, their eyes were full of each other? How can they let you little vixens get in the way? I feel like I'm going to climb the wall and change my husband again. But when I think about how this husband has already become someone else's husband, sob, my heart hurts. Height was not a problem, age was not a distance. To put it bluntly, in the eyes of many people, appearance and family background were the most important. Because these people were not involved, they did not know the character of the two of them and how their relationship was. They could only judge whether the two of them were a good match based on these superficial things. Before this, when they found out that Su Yiyan was marrying Hua Xiaofeng's uncle, their first reaction was that she was marrying an old man about the same age as her father. A young and beautiful girl suddenly marrying an old man, even if it was true love, was bound to be criticized by outsiders. Now that the photo was out, it was different. Everyone realized that the person they were talking about was not only about the same age as Su Yiyan, but he was also much more handsome than the young master of the family Hua. A handsome man and a beautiful woman together was always pleasing to the eye. Some of the people who were obsessed with good looks changed sides on the spot and sucked in their beauty. Of course, there were also some people who suspected that the man in the photo might not be the so-called family Hua uncle at all. They were all uncles, so it was impossible for him to be so young. Even so, some people suspected that these two photos were posed. Su Yiyan didn't care what they thought. She watched as more and more people praised her husband's handsomeness under her post. There were all kinds of comments that licked the screen. At the same time, she felt proud and a little jealous. She wouldn't give her husband to anyone. No matter how much she licked him, he wouldn't be yours. Compared with the discussions of passers-by and the doubts of the Water Army team, Luo Weibing's fans are embarrassed. She felt that her brother's boss this time wasn't very smart. She didn't explain anything after being cheated on and got pregnant. She only cared about scolding those haters who complained that her husband was old and ugly. Well, I know you have a good relationship. Hurry up and explain other things. The people involved were not anxious, but the onlookers were anxious. But then they noticed the post forwarded by Su Yiyan. When they clicked on it, they found that it turned out to be a short advertisement, and the protagonist of this advertisement was their brother. Chapter 452. Aha, what is this? Brother's new costume drama? Or is he working with movie queen Xue? I can do it. It doesn't seem to be a new drama. It's an advertisement, or a game advertisement? The background of this advertisement is so beautiful. Brother and movie queen Xue are also very beautiful. I feel like I'm in love again. Some of the internet Water Army saw the exclamation of Luo Weibing's fans and finally noticed the advertisement. They didn't watch the advertisement, but only the advertisement of the game. They thought that Dongqing was a small company and couldn't provide any good resources. Showing off a small game advertisement, they really haven't seen the world. Luo Weibing's anti-fans also became spirited in an instant and began to mock and gloat. Haha, the double gold award winner has been reduced to shooting a game advertisement? I'm dying of laughter. How bad is this? But in the end, he deserves it. He's ungrateful, acting like a big shot, and betraying the company that he owes a favor to. He will always be punished. I don't want to say this, but didn't Black Ice always talk about Luo Weibing's double gold award winner title? The double gold award winner has been reduced to endorsing a game advertisement. He was even pulled out by the new boss to brag. Hee, I want to see how Black Ice can brag in the future. The anti-fans felt that compared to jewelry and clothing advertisements, game advertisements could be said to be the least well-known kind of endorsement. With Luo Weibing's original status, endorsing this advertisement was simply lowering his status. However, to the disappointment of the Internet Water Army and the anti-fans, their ridicule didn't have any effect. Everyone was attracted by this beautiful advertisement. It was a magnificent scene. There were lofty mountains and lofty ridges, as well as flowing houses. A young man dressed in a light blue ancient robe drew his sword and swept it across, cutting a large area of green bamboo forest. His face was full of youthful spirit. The scene changed. Birds and beasts flew away, the stream was tinkling, and a girl wearing a light blue gauze dress by the river closed her eyes and played a flute. The melodious flute sound perfectly matched the background music. The advertisement was less than 2 minutes long, but it made everyone present feel like a proper blockbuster movie. Especially the exquisiteness of the video, it was as beautiful as a fairyland. Just by looking at it, people couldn't help but want to go in and take a look. At the end of the video, there was a publicity poster of two people back to back. At the same time, two big gold words flashed. Fantasy Banquet. There was a series of explanations at the bottom. The world's first holographic online game was officially released on the first day of the month. Many fans of Shui Kaiwei and Luo Weibing who heard the news were stunned. It took them a long time to react. Did I see it wrong? A holographic game? A holographic game? F***CK, are you serious? The first day of the next month? Isn't there still 4 days? Heavens! Heavens! Is the holographic era? I just followed the public account that posted the video and took a look. The verified account says that it's an internet economy company. I searched for this company online and it seems to be a subsidiary of Fantasy. F***CK Fantasy? The company virtual fantasies, fantasy the company virtual company if it the company the like. It virtual is it? T have it this virtual T. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.